Part 23. Being in Konoha, I can upgrade my talent entries. Author, MRMO. Chapter 222. Standing in the corner, Kankuro, who had been silent until now, was also anxious and wanted to stop Tamari. But before they could say anything, Tamari said directly, Konoha is our Tsunagakuru's ally, and it saved Gaara again this time. Due to emotions and reasons, we Tsunagakura should all express our gratitude to the target, so I want to go to Konoha in person and express my gratitude to Lord Hokage. No, is this your reason? Yes, the reason does sound like that. But no matter how you look at it, this is all an excuse, right? So you just don't want to stay in Tsunagakura anymore, right? The surrounding senior officials of Tsunagakura looked at Tamari with unkind eyes. However, they couldn't say anything. After all, Tamari has already given a seemingly reasonable reason. Although everyone knew that she didn't go to Konoha just to thank her. Gaara stood aside and looked at his sister without saying a word. He already knew what happened. It was Tamari who desperately wanted to save him, and she was the one who chased after him, risking her own life to bring him back. Therefore, Gaara can understand Tamari's mood. He wouldn't blame Tamari for leaving Tsunagakura. In fact, if Ebizo hadn't exchanged his life for his, Gaara would have wanted to follow Tamari. But not now. Because Gaara now has an extra responsibility on his shoulders. This nature is what he gave himself. It was also entrusted to him by the dead Ebizo. So no matter what, he couldn't leave Tsunagakura. But he supports Tamari to leave with Yagami Ryusuke. 173 Maybe, this is the best choice for Tamari. Gaara thought. Decided? Ryusuke Yagami asked. Tamari nodded. Well, it's decided. Seeing this, Ryusuke Yagami also reached out and held Tamari's little hand. Then come with me, he said. Feeling the warm touch from her hands, Tamari's cheeks couldn't help but blush. She nodded, then turned back and said goodbye to Gaara. As for the other brother Kankuro, she didn't want to talk to him for the time being. Maybe she will forgive Kankuro's decision in the future. But at least it is impossible to forgive in the short term. Seeing this, Kankuro just opened his mouth, but in the end he still didn't say a word. Other senior Tsunagakura people present looked at it. She looked at Tamari, then at Ryusuke Yagami, and finally her eyes fell on the two hands held together by the two, and she suddenly realized. So that's it? Tamari is not betraying Tsunagakura, but pursuing her own happiness. The senior management of Tsunagakura village suddenly felt that they had understood the truth of everything. It turned out that they had misunderstood Tamari. Things were not what they thought. Great, if Tamari can be with Ryusuke Yagami, then won't we in Tsunagakura village be able to embrace Ryusuke Yagami in the future? Bravo Tamari! As expected of the Kazekage-sama's daughter. Awesome! Why didn't I think of hugging the Shinigami's lap in this way? I heard that Ryusuke Yagami has many girlfriends in Konoha. Isn't this obvious? I didn't think of that before. My brain is so stupid. These senior officials of Tsunagakura were still scolding Tamari in their hearts for betraying the village. But in the blink of an eye, because of Yagami Ryusuke's action, they instantly changed their original thoughts. The unkind look in their eyes before it turned into an extremely kind, even a little humble look. This made Tamari somewhat uncomfortable. At the same time, she became more determined in her choice. This village, except for a very small number of people, everyone else is really hopeless. Tamari shook her head inwardly, becoming even more disappointed in the village. Under the eyes of everyone in Tsunagakura who were full of blessings, Ryusuke Yagami took Tamari's little hand, and the two of them disappeared into the red portal in an instant. Konoha. Yagami's house. Ryusuke Yagami appeared in the yard with Tamari. Arrive. Said, Yagami Ryusuke also let go of Tamari. Tamari suddenly felt the touch on her hand disappear, and she felt a little empty in her heart. "What are your plans next?" Ryosuke Yagamai asked her. After hearing this, Tamari shook her head. She really hadn't thought about this problem, mainly because when she made the decision to leave Tsunagakure, she was more or less impulsive. And now she really left Tsunagakure and came to a strange place like Konoha. Tamari didn't know where to go for a while. Fortunately, Ryosuke Yagamai didn't intend to abandon her. After all, everyone was kidnapped, so there was no need for them. The reason is thrown away, right? Moreover, Ryosuke Yagamai admires Tamari's character of daring to love and hate. Before, no one in Tsunagakure village dared to rescue Gaara. They were all frightened by Menma Uchiha's strength. But Tamari was the only one who chased after her without fear of danger. She was even ready to sacrifice. In fact, if Uchiha Menma was not the wooden clone of Ryosuke Yagamai pretending to be. If Ryosuke Yagamai hadn't if he rescued her, Tamari would really have died at the hands of Inukasaki Kisame's clone. "If you can't think of anything right now, then just stay at my house first," Ryosuke Yagamai said. Hearing this, Tamari also nodded with a look of embarrassment. "Let's go," Ryosuke Yagamai said, naturally taking her hand and pulling her towards the villa. Tamari, who was being pulled by him, also had a blushing face. Her heartbeat couldn't help but speed up. "Master, welcome home." At the door, Yukito, who had been waiting for a long time, was wearing a black and white maid uniform. Facing Yagamai Ryosuke who entered, he bowed respectfully and saluted. Then he quickly came over and helped Yagamai Ryosuke change into the room. Shoes. As for Tamari on the side, "Feel sorry. The two Yukito are Lord Yagamai's personal maids, and they are not there to serve others." In fact, Yukito felt a little jealous when he saw Ryosuke Yagamai walking over holding Tamari's hand. Although she is Ryosuke Yagamai's personal maid, she is just a maid. She also wanted to be held by Lord Yagamai like this, and she also wanted to be one of the mistresses of this family. Unknowingly, Uranhu awakened some strange attributes. Originally, she was supposed to hate Ryosuke Yagamai. But now, she seemed to have sunk in unconsciously, completely forgetting the hatred that should have been there. On the contrary, he even had some treacherous thoughts towards his master Yagamai Ryosuke. This person is, the two Yama people of Kumagakure. Tamari looked at Yukito who was dressed as a maid in surprise. She didn't expect that the dignified Jinhuriki of Kumagakure village would become Yagamai Ryosuke's maid. This surprised Tamari. But when she thought about this man's terrifying strength, Tamari suddenly felt that there was nothing surprising about this. After all, if someone else had such strong strength, they could do whatever they wanted, right? This is Tamari, and she will be living here temporarily from now on. Ryosuke Yagamai introduced Tamari to Yukito, but Yukito's attitude towards Tamari was quite cold. He even seemed to be a little repulsive. Ryosuke Yagamai didn't care. Women, as long as they don't fight, they can occasionally quarrel. Mouth and stuff are actually quite interesting. Of course. The premise is not to cause him any trouble. To read cool novels, go to Fila Novel Network. And don't act like a monster when he is upset. He doesn't like that very much. Such a pretentious woman. Fortunately, there are really few such women in the ninja world. Most of them are straightforward. After all, this is a passionate and romantic world. It is not a Qing dynasty drama. There is not that much love between women. What a conspiracy. He took Tamari to see her room, and then Ryosuke Yagamai asked her to have a good rest. After all, Tamari had not slept for 2 days and 1 night in order to save Gaara. "Master, do you want to go out?" Seeing that Yagamai Ryosuke was about to go out again just after he came back, Yukito also looked reluctant. Of course, this woman has been a bit bad lately, and she can already act. Yagami Ryosuke is also not sure about this woman. Is it an act or is it real? It's possible that Baokai is just jealous of Tamari. I'll go to the Hokage's office and be back soon. Ryosuke Yagami said. Hearing that Ryosuke Yagami just wanted to go to the Hokage's office, Yukito secretly breathed a sigh of relief. She really didn't want to stay at home alone with the girl named Tamari. Forget it about the other female ninjas in Konoha. After all, those who are near the water and the towers get the moon first. But that Tamari was just as soon a ninja. Why can you enjoy such treatment? You know, she came first. Do you understand what first come, first served means? Yagami Ryosuke didn't even bother to guess Yukito's little thoughts. Anyway, as long as it doesn't affect him, everything else doesn't matter. Depart from the villa. Ryosuke Yagami soon arrived at the Hokage building. Boom, boom, boom. Yagami Ryosuke knocked on the door, then opened the door and walked in. Ryosuke. Shizune, who was holding a stack of documents, was about to go out when she saw Ryosuke Yagami pushing the door in. Sister Shizune. Ryosuke Yagami said hello to Shizune. Come to see Tsunade-sama. Shizune pointed at Tsunade who was sleeping on her stomach over the desk. Tsunade-sama is sleeping, do you want me to wake up Tsunade-sama? No, I'll go do it myself, and you can go and do your work. Ryosuke Yagami shook his head and said. Shizune has been unlucky for 8 lifetimes following Tsunade. Because Nara Shikaku is still the head of the Nara clan, it is impossible for him to stay in the Hokage's office all day long to process documents. But Shizune can't do it. She is Tsunade's student, and now she has been promoted to become an assistant. She works in the Hokage's office 24 hours a day, at least 16 hours. Even if she worked for those unscrupulous bosses in her previous life, none of the wage earners are as miserable as Shizune. They are exploited all day long. But Tsunade, an unscrupulous boss, sleeps on her stomach in the Hokage's office openly. Thinking of this, Ryosuke Yagami looked at Shizune's night. Kami was also a little more sympathetic. Poor girl. Shizune felt a little uncomfortable with Ryosuke Yagami's eyes. Then I'll leave first. Finished. Shizune felt a little like running away, and ran out of the Hokage's office at a trot. Click. The office door closes. Now, only Ryosuke Yagami and Tsunade, who was still sleeping, were left in the huge office. Ryosuke Yagami walked over and looked at Tsunade, who was sleeping on the table. Really, I don't pay attention to image at all. Ryosuke Yagami shook his head. Suddenly he reached out with a smile and pinched Tsunade's nose with 2 fingers. At this time, Tsunade, who was sleeping, suddenly felt that she couldn't breathe, and couldn't help it. He opened his mouth. What? She woke up in a daze. This is also because Tsunade knew that she was in the Hokage's office and knew that there would be no danger, so she was so vigilant in 2.7. If this were another place, Ryosuke Yagami had just when she got close, she was already awakened. After all, she was a ninja who had been on the battlefield several times. She was not a newbie who didn't know anything. Wake up. What does the dignified Hokage look like sleeping in the office? Ryosuke Yagami let go of his hand and said with a scolding look. Tsunade subconsciously felt embarrassed. After all, she was the Hokage, so she was more or less a bit unreasonable. But soon, Tsunade reacted. No. I'm the Hokage, right? And I'm your elder. You're teaching me a lesson in this tone? No matter how big or small. Tsunade stood up with her hands on her hips in anger. Ryosuke, you kid is getting older and younger. I'm your sister. Tsunade looked angry. You still owe me more than 270 million taels. Ryosuke Yagami glanced at her lightly and said. When do you plan to pay it back? Tsunade. The momentum that I just mentioned was instantly reduced. More than 200 million? Are there that many? Tsunade whispered. I still have the IOU. Do you want to show it to you? Ryosuke Yagami said angrily. You also know a lot, do you? Then do you know that this money was exported in less than half a year after you became Hokage? Being in Konoha, I can upgrade my talent entries. Author, MRMO. Chapter 223. To be honest. Ryosuke Yagami knew that Tsunade was a famous casino fat sheep. But I never thought she would be so fat. In more than half a year, they lost nearly 300 million. I want to ask the entire ninja world, who else can do it besides Tsunade? Just talking about money. Tsunade is definitely the most prodigal Hokage in history, bar none. Even the big pillars who are equally fond of gambling. Nothing like her. Certainly. The reason Tsunade loses so much is because Yagami Ryosuke has been lending her money. If she had no money, Tsunade would naturally not lose so much. So, is this still Yagami Ryosuke's fault? Don't, I will pay you back when I win money next time. Tsunade hurriedly waved her hand. However, Yagami Ryosuke didn't believe even a single punctuation mark about her words. It's not that he didn't believe that Tsunade would pay him back if he won the money. But he didn't believe it at all. I don't believe that Tsunade will win money. This is Tsunade. Winning money? It's impossible in this life. Let alone winning back 270 million taels. That's even more impossible. Forget it, it would be more practical for you to charge more rent. Ryosuke Yagami said. Hearing this, Tsunade was also depressed for a while. How much do you look down on her gambling skills? You know, she has been practicing hard. But her luck is really bad. She can what to do? Ryosuke, you came to me, you didn't come here specifically to collect a debt, right? Tsunade asked. Yagami Ryosuke nodded, and then explained Tamari's situation to Tsunade. Tsunade didn't take it to heart that Tamari and a sand ninja came to their Konoha. As Yagami Ryosuke knew, the girl who was inseparable could not escape from Yagami Ryosuke's clutches. However, the fact that people from the Akatsuki organization actually took away Tsunagakuru's tailed beast aroused Tsunade's concern. Highly anticipated. Ryosuke, you have fought against Menma Uchiha 28, what do you think of his strength? Tsunade asked. After hearing this, Yagami Ryosuke also said bluntly, if you don't count me, everyone in Konoha tied together is no match for him. Tsunade. Brother, do you want to be so direct? This is a bit hurtful. What if you are included? Tsunade asked. He is no match for me. Ryosuke Yagami glanced at her and said lightly. But you just said that Uchiha Menma is not the leader of the Akatsuki organization, right? Tsunade said with a solemn expression. A ninja as powerful as Uchiha Menma is not the leader of the Akatsuki organization, so how strong must their leader be? If it's just Menma Uchiha, then Tsunade is confident that the other party will not dare to come to Konoha to cause trouble. After all, Ryosuke Yagami said that the other party is not his opponent. Regarding this, Tsunade still has some feelings for Ryosuke Yagami. Confident. After all, Yagami Ryosuke's strength has improved a lot in the past year. At his age, it is the time when his strength soars. Back then, he was able to repel Menma Uchiha. Now, he can suppress the opponent, it's normal. I'm afraid that the other party won't come alone. If the leader of the Akatsuki organization appears together, how will Konoha deal with it? Tsunade frowned, feeling a bad feeling in her heart. The other party went to Tsunagakura village and robbed the tailed beasts of the other village. It is difficult to say whether this is a personal grudge or whether the Akatsuki organization is collecting tailed beasts. If it is the latter, then Konoha, which now has 2 tailed beasts, will definitely become the target of this Akatsuki organization. If it is the former, forget it. No matter how much Tsunade deceives herself, she will not be so naive as to think that this is some personal grudge. The other party is obviously coming for the tailed beast. Collect tailed beasts, what does this Akatsuki organization want to do? Tsunade thought to herself. At this moment, the door of the Hokage's office was knocked again. Come in. Tsunade said. The next moment, the door opened, and an Umbu walked in from the door. The Umbu knelt down on one knee and said, Lord Hokage, Lord Jiraiya is back with Uzumaki Naruto. Oh. Jiraiya is back. Tsunade's eyes lit up. During this period, Jiraiya and Uzumaki Naruto have been training outside. In fact, in addition to training Uzumaki Naruto, the son of destiny in Jiraiya's mouth, Jiraiya also has another purpose. Then it is to investigate the Akatsuki organization. This Akatsuki organization is too mysterious, and the organization is full of powerful rebel ninjas. A group of rebel ninjas like this gathered together and created an organization. Who knows what their purpose is? Therefore, Leia has been investigating the situation of this organization, but it is a pity that Jiraiya does not know that Uchiha Itachi is an undercover agent inserted by Sarutobi Hiruzen inside the Akatsuki organization. Otherwise, he can contact Uchiha Itachi directly, maybe we can get some important information from him. For example, the strength of the leader of the Akatsuki organization, or his pair of reincarnation eyes. Naruto is back. Ryosuke Yagamai also smiled slightly when he heard the news reported by the Umbu. Sister Tsunade, I'm going to see Naruto. By the way, don't forget to arrange a registration certificate for Temari. After saying that, Yagamai Ryosuke directly used the Flying Thunder God technique and disappeared into the Hokage's office in an instant. Really, just leave. Tsunade muttered dissatisfied, and then ordered the Umbu in front of her to call Jiraiya. At the same time, she also called Narashikaku and Kakashi to discuss the matter. This time when Jiraiya comes back, he will definitely bring new information about the Akatsuki organization. Just in time. Tsunade was still worried about the Akatsuki organization just now. Now there is information coming to her door immediately. On the Konoha side, Tsunade plans to get it from Jiraiya. When I learned some information about the Akatsuki organization, it was far away in the Akatsuki organization base in a Megakure village. Pain also summoned everyone from the Akatsuki organization to discuss how to capture the second tail. At this time, Uchiha Menma was in the form of a magic lantern. Participated in this meeting in the form of jutsu. While others were discussing how to capture the two Jinchuriki in Konoha, Menma Uchiha was getting in touch with Ryosuke Yagamai, the original body. After a while, he remained silent. Uchiha Menma, who was speechless, suddenly said, it seems that you can't come up with any results through discussion, so why not listen to my method? Hearing this, everyone else looked towards him. Menma Uchiha, do you have any idea? Pen asked indifferently. In the entire Akatsuki organization, Menma Uchiha was the only one who was not under his control. Although he seemed to have won this brief confrontation, Nagato knew in his heart that Menma Uchiha was not under his control. He didn't use all his strength. Of course. He didn't use all his strength either. But even so, Nagato was not as sure about Menma Uchiha as he was about other members of the Akatsuki organization. What's more, this guy, there is still a connection with that Uchiha Madara. If that Uchiha Madara is added to the mix, Nagato will have no confidence at all. Therefore, when Uchiha Menma said that he had a way, Nagato was also thinking in his heart. What is this guy planning? At this time, Uchiha Menma also said, I fought against that Yagamai Ryosuke, and that guy's would escape is very strong. If he breaks through forcefully, it won't be successful or not. But the strength of our Akatsuki organization may be completely exposed under the eyes of everyone in the ninja world. I don't think the leader wants things to turn out like that, right? He looked at Pain with a smile. Pain still looked at him coldly, with no expression on his face. So, My idea is, why don't we go talk to Ryusuke Yagami? I think that guy is not completely untradeable. Maybe we can use something else to exchange him for the two tails in his hand. After Uchiha Menma finished speaking, he also looked at Pain. To read Bao's Huang novels, go to Fila Novel Network. Is this your approach? Pen said coldly. If you, Chief, have a better idea, just pretend I didn't tell you. Uchiha spread his hands with a numb face and said with a smile. Others looked at the two people who felt tit for tat, and no one dared to speak. After all, these two are big bosses. They are both people they can't afford to offend. After a while. It's okay, you have interacted with Yagami Ryusuke, so it's up to you to represent the Akatsuki organization and talk to him. Pen nodded. Unexpectedly, he agreed to Menma Uchiha's seemingly outrageous suggestion. No problem, I just happen to have something to talk to him about. Uchiha Menma agreed with a smile. That's it, the meeting is over. After Pain said indifferently, he turned around and left. Zionin, who had been following Pain, followed suit, and the two of them quickly disappeared. Hee hee. Uchiha Menma laughed a few times, and then his figure slowly faded and finally disappeared. When the others saw that the two big guys were gone, it was meaningless for them to stay here any longer, so they also turned and left. Among the crowd, Uchiha Itake's eyes shone with a strange light. Why would Menma Uchiha want to trade with Ryusuke Yagami? And he looked very determined. Could it be that the two of them had had a deal before? Uchiha Itake was thinking in his mind, wondering if he should send this news back to Konoha. But he is worried about whether his current identity can be accepted by Konoha's top brass. After all, the Sarutobi Hiruzen who had been in contact with him before was gone. Even the Sarutobi clan has been labeled as traitors, most of the top leaders of the clan have been arrested, and the remaining human clan members are also living a very difficult life. However, compared to the Shimura clan and the three ninja clans, Tenjin and Mito, who have completely disappeared, things are pretty good for the Sarutobi clan. At least, they still have people alive. Uchiha Itake was worried whether the new top management of Konoha would trust him. Or, how is he going to prove his identity? Considering these issues, Uchiha Itake also walked step by step towards his room. But just halfway through, he saw Sasuke, who had just returned from training, passing by on the other side. His eyes flickered a few times. Menma Uchiha is not here, maybe I should tell Sasuke the truth now. This is a rare opportunity. Uchiha Itake thought to himself. In the past, when Menma Uchiha was around, he would not act randomly at all. And these 2 days, Menma Uchiha happened to be away from the base. Maybe this is his last chance. Thinking of this, Uchiha Itake decided to ask Sasuke out tonight, and then took the opportunity to tell him the truth. At the same time, he also gave his own eyes to his dear brother, so that he could awaken the eternal Mangekyo Sharinan. Certainly. In order to make sure nothing goes wrong, he might first use Shisui's other god. Pain agreed. Haha. He was testing me, but it didn't matter. Konoha, in the Ichiraku ramen house. Yagami Ryusuke was listening to Naruto talk about his experiences outside during this period, while his consciousness was communicating with his wooden clone. Generally speaking, the main body and the clone cannot be separated from each other. Communicate. Neither the wooden clone nor the shadow clone has this ability. But Ryusuke Yagami communicates with his wooden clone through the ability of the Rinnegan. With his eye power, even if the clone is far away, TNB can also be contacted directly. As long as he wants to. Before, the reason why Uchiha Menma proposed to trade with Yagami Ryusuke was because Yagami Ryusuke himself asked the wooden clone to say so. The reason for this is because Yagami Ryusuke needs the Akatsuki organization to gather the power of the nine-tailed beasts. On the one hand, it is to collect as many biopheromones as possible. For example, the biopheromone of the ten-tailed beasts in the ninja world. Another example is the biopheromone of the Six Paths class. And Kaguya Otsutsuki, who was finally released, is also a target of Ryosuke Yagami. So he will help the Akatsuki organization and facilitate their mission of collecting the nine-tailed beasts. As for how he will hand over the two tails and nine tails to the Akatsuki organization, this is too simple. The sealed space in Yagami Ryosuke's own body contains the chakra of the two tails and the nine tails. He can take out part of it to form two new tailed beasts and give them to the Akatsuki organization. Anyway, they are both the two tails and the nine tails. Does it matter whether the Kyuubi is conscious or not? It doesn't matter at all. Just being able to merge into the ten tails is fine. As for the so-called deal? Come on. Although Yagami Ryosuke can give two-tailed beasts for free, if you don't want anything, Nagato, there will definitely be suspicion. In this case, then Yagami Ryosuke reluctantly wants something. As for what? In the Akatsuki organization, apart from Konan, what else does Yagami Ryosuke need? So, Airway and Zionin? Nagato should agree, right? You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Being in Konoha, I can upgrade my talent entries. Author, MRMO. Chapter 224. However, it's okay even if Nagato doesn't agree. Because the sensible Zionin will make him agree. Tisk tisk. Why do you feel like I'm a bit despicable? Ryosuke Yagami thought to himself. But it's okay to be despicable. It's better to bully someone than to be bullied, right? If Yagami Ryosuke were asked to choose one, he would definitely choose to bully others. Besides, is Ryosuke Yagami called this despicable? He calls this redemption. Think about Konan's final fate in the original work. If she followed Ryosuke Yagami, she would naturally be able to avoid her death at the hands of Obito like in the original work. What is this if not redemption? If you think about it, Ryosuke Yagami feels that he is quite great. Either he is rescuing people, or he is on his way to save them. Hey! I'm such a good person. Ryosuke Yagami was filled with emotions. Suzuki, who had just returned to the room, suddenly had a look in his eyes. There was a letter sitting on his bedside table. Suzuki clearly remembered that there was no such letter when he went out. Who left it for me? Suzuki frowned and went over to open the letter. There were only a few words on it, but after reading it, Suzuki looked ugly and saw that the paper was crumpled into a ball. At 8 o'clock in the evening, see you outside the base. The signature is Itaki Uchiha. I didn't look for you, but you came to me. Suzuki clenched his fists. Although he knew that it would be dangerous to meet Uchiha Itaki alone, considering his current strength, even if there is danger, he can protect himself. Thinking of this, Suzuki decided to meet Uchiha tonight. Itaki. Let's see what the purpose of this bastard is. This guy, do you want to kill me while the teacher is away? Suzuki thought. 8 o'clock in the evening came soon. Suzuki came to the open space outside the Akatsuki organization base. At this moment, a crow's cry in the sky attracted his attention. And when Suzuki looked over at that time, he saw a crow flying towards the distance. Brush. Suzuki immediately followed it. Needless to say, the only crows that would appear in a Megakure village were those raised by Uchiha Itaki. Follow him all the way to the sky with this crow, Suzuki had unknowingly ran out of the Omegakure village. After the Omegakure village, the drizzle in the sky also stopped. He ran another 50 or 60 kilometers. At this time, the sky was covered with rain. The crow also landed on a tree. Suzuki stopped and looked over there. On a branch of the big tree, a figure stood in the shadow. The crow landed on the figure's shoulder. Uchiha Itachi, here I come. Sasuke said with a cold tone. My stupid Uduyo. You are still fooled so easily. Standing in the shadow, Uchiha Itachi looked at his younger brother in front of him with a very complicated mood. After tonight, one of them is destined to die. And this person, if nothing else happens, it must be him. After all this is Uchiha Itachi planned it. You bastard! Don't call me you Doubtu! Sasuke shouted angrily. Unknowingly, his kaleidoscope had automatically turned on due to his anger. The evil kaleidoscope stared coldly at Uchiha Itachi in the shadow, wishing to tear it into pieces. Do you want to kill me to avenge your parents and clan members? Uchiha Itachi said coldly, just in time, I also want to kill you and dig out your eyes so that my kaleidoscopes can gain eternal light. This is exactly what I thought. Sasuke said coldly. Sasuke also heard detailed explanations from his teacher about the eternal kaleidoscope, which is a higher level of kaleidoscope. He knew that once the ability of the kaleidoscope is used too much, his eyes will gradually become blind. Only by evolving to the eternal kaleidoscope, in order to obtain eternal light. The way to evolve to the eternal kaleidoscope is to replace the eyes of a blood relative, and use the power of blood to obtain huge pupil power, causing the quantitative change to achieve a qualitative change. Therefore, Sasuke has always been thinking about Uchiha Itachi's pair of kaleidoscopes. Uchiha Itachi deserves to die anyway. As a damned person, the greatest contribution he can make before death is to leave his eyes to Uchiha Sasuke. This is also Uchiha Itachi's Uchiha the retribution that a sinner deserves. Therefore, Sasuke does not feel any guilt or undoeness in his heart. What's more, didn't Uchiha Itachi think so too? The two brothers looked at each other, their eyes clashing in mid-air, as if they could collide and create some sparks. The next second, the two figures disappeared from the place at the same time. Immediately afterwards, a powerful shockwave burst out in mid-air and swept across. Bang bang bang. Ding 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 ding. The fists and feet of both sides collided continuously, and at the same time, each shuriken reflected cold light in the moonlight, like soul-stealing ghosts, attacking each other in the dark night. Whether it is Uchiha Itachi or Uchiha Sasuke, both of them are proficient in the Uchiha clan's taijutsu and shuriken throwing techniques. However, in these two aspects, Uchiha Itachi's ability is obviously better than Sasuke's. But at this moment, the two of them were fighting to no avail, and it seemed like no one was taking any advantage. Lay escape. Lakey. A bolt of lightning flashed and instantly penetrated Uchiha Itachi's body. But the next second, Uchiha Itachi, who was penetrated by Reikari, instantly turned into a large group of crows and flew away. This made Sasuke frown and his face changed. Very ugly. My stupid Uduyo. Uchiha Itachi's figure appeared behind Sasuke, and a sharp kunai was pressed against his neck. Obediently give me your eyes. Don't even think about it. Sasuke gritted his teeth and said. The next second. With a bang, Sasuke in front of him instantly turned into smoke and disappeared. It turned out that this was just a shadow clone. Just when the two Uchiha brothers were fighting to the death here. In a building a few kilometers away on the cliff. A figure is standing on the top of the cliff, facing the biting night wind, looking at the battle in the distance. It was a wonderful duel, but it was a bit serious. Ryusuke Yagami watched the battle in the distance and commented. From Konoha in the country of fire to the country of rain, the straight line distance is probably more than 2,000 kilometers. And based on Ryusuke Yagami's current perception ability, his Kagura heart eye can completely sense chakra fluctuations tens of thousands of kilometers away. Therefore, even if he was in Konoha 1 second, he would sense Sasuke's chakra and Uchiha Itachi's chakra the next second after the intersection. We arrived at the vicinity via Yamaizumi Hirazaka in an instant. It seems that Uchiha Itachi is planning to give his eyes to Sasuke tonight. That's good. Sasuke, who has awakened the eternal Mangekyo, will be able to reach the level of Super Shadow level. Of course, this should be the weakest Super Shadow. Ryosuke Yagamai saw through Uchiha Itake's thoughts at a glance. Obviously he didn't want to hold on any longer. He felt that Sasuke had grown up well now and could inherit his will. As for whether Sasuke was willing to inherit his will, Uchiha Itachi has obviously not considered this issue at all. To read cool novels, go to Fila Novel Network. After all, it's all for your own good. Ryosuke Yagamai sneered a few times. He knew that Uchiha Itachi in the end, I will definitely use Shisui's other god. Just right. Ryosuke Yagamai hasn't used the predatory ability of his kaleidoscope left eye for a long time. It's not about cooling or anything. Since his physique has continued to improve, his left eye the cool-down time of the looting ability has also been decreasing. Now, it basically cools down in one breath. So there is no need to wait for the cool-down time. The reason why it is not used is simply because I don't like it. After all, Ryosuke Yagamai his current strength. Not to mention the mere pupil technique of kaleidoscope. Even if the pupil technique of the Samsara eye is not particularly strong, he would look down upon it. Therefore, he has never taken the initiative to plunder the pupil technique of a certain pair of kaleidoscopes. But since I saw the battle between the Uchiha brothers today, Ryosuke Yagamai doesn't mind plundering another god's eye technique and coming back. Just in time. Ryosuke Yagamai had previously plundered the eye technique of another god. Now, let's plunder the one in Uchiha Itachi's hand. Just a pair. As for Uchiha Itachi's own eye skills and Sasuke's eye skills, to be honest, Yagamai Ryosuke is a bit disdainful. Regardless of Amaterasu, it's still Tsukuyomi. It's useless to him. Any illusion he has, driven by the power of the 6 Megatama reincarnation eyes, is much more powerful than the ordinary Tsukuyomi. After all, it's not infinite Tsukuyomi. So, it doesn't matter whether the thing is plundered or not, it has no meaning. The reason why he robbed other gods is just to satisfy Yagamai Ryosuke's own obsessive-compulsive disorder. He doesn't like to be alone, even if he has pupil skills, he has to form a pair. The battlefield in the distance. The two brothers were fighting, and it turned into a competition of illusions. In Ryosuke Yagamai's sight, the two people were standing directly face to face and suddenly stopped moving. After a minute or two, it looked like Uchiha Itachi suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood. Then he fell back with a sluggish look. Ryosuke Yagamai. This is for letting water go. Fortunately, Uchiha Itachi probably felt that he had let himself off a bit seriously. After all, Sasuke had awakened the kaleidoscope now, so he naturally knew how powerful the kaleidoscope was. So after pretending to be defeated, he did not immediately pretend to lose his fighting ability, but directly roared and activated Susanoo. Tisk tisk. With this desperate look, people who didn't know it would really think that Uchiha Itachi was at the end of his rope. Such as Sasuke. He thought he had really defeated Itachi Uchiha. This made Sasuke very excited. While excited, he also felt relaxed all over. You're not the only one who knows Susan. Sasuke sneered, and followed a purple Susanoo rising from the ground. The two behemoths collided again and again in the forest, making loud noises that shook the earth. Unfortunately, this place is already far away from Yuyan village. Otherwise such a big movement would have attracted other members of the Akatsuki organization. This was also intentional by Uchiha Itachi. After all, he didn't want anyone to disturb his final farewell to his brother. It's about to end. Ryosuke Yagamai looked at the scene in the distance and said heartily. Sure enough. 2 or 3 minutes later, the red Susanoo was directly overturned by the purple Susanoo. As the purple Susanoo punched down, the red Susanoo dimmed instantly and disappeared directly with his huge body. It's so obvious. Ryosuke Yagamai shook his head and said. However, Suzuki didn't notice such an obvious lethargy. This is probably the so-called bystander Cheng. On the other side, Suzuki, who broke up Uchiha Itake's Susanoo, is the money good, Suke, also holding Uchiha Itake's collar with one hand, staring at him coldly. Now, tell me why you want to massacre your entire clan. Bang. Suzuki punched Uchiha Itake hard on the face. The punch made Uchiha Itake vomit blood directly from his mouth. Why kill mom and dad? Bang. Another punch, this one is obviously a bit heavier than the last one. Stop talking nonsense like trying to test your mettle, I am no longer a child. Suzuki said angrily. Hearing this, Uchiha Itake also showed a sad smile and said, yes, you are not a child anymore. It's time to know some things. The next second, the two people's eyes met, and Suzuki was stunned for a moment. The outside world only lasted a few seconds. In fact, for Suzuki, it seemed that a long time had passed. Just now, Uchiha Itake used the illusion allowed him to see the truth of everything. It turned out that, is the truth actually because of this? Suzuki staggered back a few steps and let go of Yu.Bo Itake's clothes. Now that you know the truth, what will you do? Uchiha Itake sat on the ground and looked at his younger brother who looked in pain in front of him. Revenge. Suzuki gritted his teeth. He thought that by killing Uchiha Itake, he could avenge his clan and parents. But now, Uchiha Itake allowed him to see the truth of everything through illusion. It turned out that his enemy was far more than Uchiha Itake. One person, and that masked man. That guy named Shimura Danzo. Even, Konoha is happy. Being in Konoha, I can upgrade my talent entries. Author, MRMO. Chapter 225. Who to seek revenge from? Uchiha Itake asked. The answer to this question is very important to him. Masked Man, Danzo Shimura, and Konoha. Suzuki did not hesitate when he named the first two people, but he hesitated when he mentioned Konoha because he thought of Naruto, his good friend and brother. If Naruto knew that he wanted to take revenge on Konoha, he will definitely be stopped, right? But without revenge, can he be worthy of his dead parents and clan members? Thinking of what he saw that night, Suzuki couldn't help but shed 2 lines of blood and tears in his eyes. Revenge. Must take revenge. I knew it would be like this. Uchiha Itake sighed. He had previously considered whether to hide part of the truth from Suzuki, so that he would still care for Konoha. But Uchiha Itake quickly thought of the masked man, the one who claimed to be Uchiha Madara guy. Even if he hid the truth from Suzuki today, what about the other people who know the truth? What about the masked man who calls himself Uchiha Madara? Will he tell Suzuki all the truth? If Suzuki knows all this at that time, will he hate Konoha even more? Uchiha Itake didn't dare to take the gamble. So, he decided to tell Suzuki all the truth and then see his reaction. If he only chose to take revenge on Konoha's senior officials and the masked man, then Uchiha Itake can leave with peace of mind. After all the original high-level officials of Konoha are dead. Only the masked man is left. Uchiha Itake himself wants to kill him, but he just doesn't have the ability, so naturally he doesn't mind. Suzuki went to take revenge on the other party. But now, Suzuki also started to hate Konoha as a whole. This is not the result Uchiha Itake wants. Sorry, Suzuki. Uchiha Itake said suddenly. Suzuki, who was immersed in pain, looked at him suddenly. Although he already knew the truth of everything, Suzuki's hatred for Uchiha Itake did not decrease much. After all, he was also a participant in that plan. The perpetrator, even the executor. It was he who killed his parents and clan members with his own hands. All these 557 are facts that cannot be changed. Even if, he finally saved himself. But so what? Does that change the fact that he killed his parents? Cannot. Sasuke couldn't forgive Itachi Uchiha for being like this, and couldn't forgive him for everything he had done. It is even more unforgivable to the higher UPS of Konoha who caused all this to happen. Even the original high-level officials of Konoha are dead. But not everyone involved is dead, right? Those root ninjas who were accomplices, those Umbu ninjas. It's impossible for them all to die, right? As long as there are still people alive, then he must make these people pay the price, even if they are just accomplices, not the masterminds. But shouldn't the accomplice die? At this moment, the fire of revenge in Sasuke's heart was already burning brightly. Not only because he knew the truth about the night of genocide, but also because he had defeated his biggest enemy in the past 10 years, Uchiha Itachi. Sasuke believes that he has the ability to avenge his parents and clan. Moreover, don't forget that as long as he transplants Uchiha Itachi's eyes, he can awaken the more advanced eternal Mangekyo Sharingan. By then, his strength will only be stronger than now. Don't think that I will forgive you just by saying sorry. Sasuke looked at Uchiha Itachi in front of him angrily. However, he seemed to have misunderstood what Uchiha Itachi wanted to express by these words. Sasuke, from now on you will take my place and protect Konoha. Uchiha Itachi looked at his brother in front of him calmly, as if he didn't care about the impending death at all. Use these eyes of mine to protect the village. Uchiha Itachi, are you dreaming? Sasuke said with a sneer. Uchiha Itachi didn't explain. He just looked at the younger brother in front of him tenderly. Everything I do is for your own good. Sasuke, you will understand me. What nonsense is this guy talking about? Sasuke frowned, not understanding Uchiha Itachi's nonsense. At this moment, a jag with black feathers and bright hair suddenly fell on Uchiha Itachi's shoulder. Subconsciously, Sasuke looked at the crow's eyes. At this moment, Sasuke was surprised to find that the crow's left eye turned out to be a Mangekyo Sharingan. What? Sasuke's eyes widened in surprise. He instinctively realized that something serious was going to happen. But at this time, it was too late for him to look away again. Sasuke, forgive me. This is the last time. Uchiha Itachi used the gentlest tone, but did the most terrifying behavior. The next second. No god. Itachi Uchiha instantly activated the pupil technique on the other god. And almost at the same time that he activated the other god, a hand suddenly grabbed the crow's head. Plunder. In an instant, the other god that had just been activated dissipated, and then a pure pupil power poured into Yagami Ryuzuki's left eye along this hand. In just an instant, the pupil power of this other god was completely absorbed by Yagami Ryuzuki. When he let go, the crow's left eye had turned gray-white. It was the look of a blind person's eyes. It's you. Uchiha Itachi widened his eyes and looked at Uchiha Menma in front of him with a look of shock. Uchiha Itachi, do you think I'm not guarding you? Yagami Ryuzuki pretended to be Uchiha Menma said coldly. Uchiha Itachi. He suddenly laughed miserably. Uchiha Itachi knew that he lost. It turned out that what he called a good opportunity was actually given to him intentionally by Menma Uchiha. The purpose was to get him to attack Sasuke. Result, he was really fooled. Teacher. Sasuke looked at the teacher who suddenly appeared in surprise, and then suddenly realized that he had almost fallen into the trick of that bastard Uchiha Itachi. Suddenly, Sasuke looked at Uchiha Itachi with an angry look on his face. What did you just want to do to me? Sasuke asked angrily. Uchiha Itachi shook his head with a smile. He had no chance to make a comeback. Even if he actually still has the fighting ability to continue fighting. But facing the amazingly powerful Uchiha Menma, Uchiha Itachi knew he had no chance at all. He lost miserably. Those are Uchiha Shisui's eyes, and there is a pupil technique called Butsutenjin in this eye. Uchiha Menma said calmly. Teacher, what are other gods? Suzuki asked quickly. To read exciting novels, go to Fila Novel Network. It is a kind of pupil technique that can modify people's will and thoughts. Just now, Uchiha Itachi probably wanted to use the ability of other gods to directly change your thoughts and let you protect Konoha forever from now on. Uchiha Menma directly revealed Uchiha Itachi's plan. Hearing these words, Suzuki also felt a huge wave in his heart. To change a person's mind? Let him protect Konoha forever? Suzuki's eyes widened. Looked at Uchiha Itachi on the ground with anger and disbelief. He didn't expect that Uchiha Itachi planned to do this. But, why? Suzuki couldn't help but wonder. Why didn't he just control himself and let himself become his puppet and plaything? In this case, couldn't he just take away his own eyes? Protect Konoha? If you want to protect Konoha so much, go protect it yourself. Why must he come? Suzuki doesn't understand. Don't you understand? Uchiha Menma saw the change in expression on Suzuki's face and guessed what he was thinking. Hearing this, Suzuki also nodded. He really couldn't understand. Teacher, since Uchiha Itachi has such a terrifying pupil technique, why doesn't he directly? In the middle of speaking, Suzuki suddenly hesitated. Because he seemed to understand something. Why not just take control of you and take away your eyes? Uchiha Menma said what Suzuki had not finished, and followed him to look at Uchiha Itachi, who was on the ground with a lifeless look on his face, and said lightly that's because he has been merged into the mortal world, so he has awakened the eternal Mangekyo. It's useless, he won't live for a few more years. Suzuki. Is this the truth? I thought. Suzuki's hands suddenly clenched into fists. I feel strangely cheated. Just now, he thought it was Uchiha Itachi, this beast, who still had some conscience left and couldn't bear to hurt his younger brother. But the result is this? Yagami Ryusuke glanced at Suzuki, and suddenly the corner of his mouth curved slightly, and said of course, Uchiha Itachi doesn't want to really hurt your dearest brother. He decided from the beginning to use his kaleidoscope. Leave it to you to take his place and continue to take a good look at the world. Suzuki. He instantly raised his head and looked at the teacher in disbelief. Teacher, is that true? Uchiha Menma nodded. He didn't even bother to lie about this kind of thing. Uchiha Itachi on the ground also looked at him in surprise. Just now he heard Uchiha Menma say that he did this because he was not going to die soon. At that time, I thought Uchiha Menma's understanding was very one-sided. But I didn't expect, this man actually knows his true inner thoughts. Really? What a terrible man. Hateful. After hearing the teacher's answer, Suzuki lowered his head and cursed. But in his eyes, tears couldn't stop flowing down and dripping on the ground. That's right. He really still couldn't forgive Uchiha Itachi, this bastard brother. But once the thought that this bastard brother had been carefully preparing all this for him from the beginning made Suzuki feel extremely painful in his heart. Why is that you? Suzuki roared inwardly. He raised his head and looked at Uchiha Itachi in front of him. The latter also looked at him tenderly. Suzuki, you will understand me when you grow up. Asshole. I don't want to understand you. Suzuki roared loudly. You idiot, since you love me so much, why did you take my parents away from me with your own hands? Why? Everything I do is for the village. Itachi Uchiha looked at his younger brother with pain and struggle on his face tenderly. The existence of Uchiha has threatened the peace of the village. As long as the clan disappears, the village can continue to maintain the peaceful status quo. Suzuki, you have to understand that sacrificing the small self achieves the greater self. Hearing this, Zo's eyes suddenly burst out with endless hatred. It's the village again. He said with cold eyes, why is it that a clan should be sacrificed, why can't it be Konoha? Sasuke. Uchiha Itachi also wanted to explain his philosophy to his younger brother. But at this time, Menma Uchiha laughed. Uchiha Itachi, you are really great. You made such a difficult choice on behalf of others. I believe those who were sacrificed by you should be very grateful to you, right? Uchiha Menma looked at him with a mocking smile on his face. People like you will never understand me. Uchiha Itachi shook his head lightly, obviously not wanting to explain anything to Uchiha Menma. I really can't understand your stupid idea. Uchiha Menma sneered and shook his head. How can normal people synchronize with the thinking patterns of brain-dead people? Uchiha Itachi didn't care about Uchiha Menma's ridicule. He firmly believed that he was right. The world is ignorant. It is impossible to understand him like this. Genius. Originally, he can make his younger brother understand and identify with him. But, it's all this man's fault. Itachi Uchiha looked at Menma Uchiha with a hint of resentment in his eyes. Without him, my plan has been done. Then Sasuke will use his eyes to continue to protect the village on his behalf. Forever. Uchiha Itachi, you are really crazy. Sasuke looked at his brother in front of him as if he were a stranger. Just now he almost had the idea of forgiving this guy. But now he sees Uchiha Itachi like this. Seeing him stubbornly thinking that he is the right one, that person. Sasuke suddenly realized that he had never really understood his brother. Since when did their thoughts become out of sync? Being in Konoha, I can upgrade my talent entries. Author, MRMO. Chapter 226. Sasuke recalled the memories of Zenjin when he was a child. In my memory, the brother who always cared for me seems to be very vague. Yes, it turns out that you have already embarked on the path that runs counter to us. Sasuke murmured to himself. Sasuke. Uchiha Itachi looked at his younger brother in front of him with complicated eyes. He doesn't care what outsiders like Uchiha Menma think of him, but his dear brother doesn't care either. This made Uchiha Itachi feel quite uncomfortable. Stop talking, you are no longer the Onisin who loved me in the past. Sasuke said coldly. After seeing the truth of the matter, Sasuke understood that the brother in his memory was actually dead long ago. The person who is still alive now is just a person wearing his brother's coat, just a fool. What's there to say to a fool? Uchiha Itachi opened his mouth, but in the end no word came out. Sasuke's attitude said it all. Moreover, it was useless for him to say anything now. The next second. Phew. Sasuke directly dug out both of Uchiha Itachi's eyes. The decisiveness of the attack surprised Menma Uchiha on the side. This guy, it's a talent. Watching Sasuke pick out his own eyes, and then press on Uchiha Itachi's. Uchiha Menma also went over and used medical ninjutsu to connect the nerves in Sasuke's eyes. After all, not everyone is Uchiha Madara. You can pick it out and use it at the same time. Madara is a man with a Hashirama tattoo on his chest. What does Sasuke have? Nothing. Therefore, Menma Uchiha still needs to help. Try to close your eyes for these 2 days. Uchiha Menma said lightly. Sasuke nodded. At this time, Uchiha Menma also reached out and brushed the pair of kaleidoscopes that Sasuke had picked out. A pupil power was swallowed by him instantly. At the same time, Amaterasu and Kasa were also swallowed. Gu Tu Ming's 2 eye skills. He thought about it and decided to plunder these 2 eye skills. After all, he didn't want it for nothing. You do it or should I? After Menma Uchiha plundered Sasuke's kaleidoscope eyes, he looked at Sasuke with his eyes closed and asked. I come. Sasuke said. Then he slashed with a sharp kunai in his hand. Poof. Scarlet blood splashed out in the air. Uchiha Itachi opened his eyes with a pair of hollow eyes and fell to the ground with a thud. He died on his own. at the hands of his own brother, and without his brother's forgiveness and understanding before he died. This made Uchiha Itachi unable to rest in peace. Even more, he could imagine that after his death, his brother would definitely take revenge on his beloved Konoha. This made Uchiha Itachi feel even more painful. So, why has he worked so hard for so many years? Before dying, Uchiha Itachi suddenly felt regretful. I regret my original decision. The next day, Uchiha Menma, played by Yagami Ryosuke's wooden clone, took Faye back to the Akatsuki organization base. Not long after he came back, Pain came to the door. Talked about it? Pen asked indifferently. Menma Uchiha nodded. Well, we talked about it. Pain looked at him with his purple reincarnation eyes and asked, what does the other party want? Yagami Ryosuke said that he could provide the Akatsuki organization with 2 tails or even 9 tails, but he needed someone from the Akatsuki organization. Uchiha Menma said. Alone. Pain frowned, feeling a bad feeling in his heart. Who? He asked. Zionin. Uchiha Menma said. This is impossible. Pen refused without thinking. If Ryosuke Yagami wanted someone else, even everyone else in the Akatsuki organization, Pain might consider it. But only Konan can't do it. Because Konan is the partners he truly recognized were the friends he had grown up with. There was no way he could trade Konan for 2-tailed beasts. Then there's no point in talking about it. Uchiha said with numb hands. Pain frowned, looked at him and said, except for Zionin, I can agree to all his other requests. But he only wants Zionin. Uchiha Menma said, I talked to her, and he said that unless our Akatsuki organization handed over Konan to him, we would never get the 2 tails and 9 tails. Pain. Who does he think he is? Pen said through gritted teeth. The Shinigami of the ninja world? Uchiha Menma said calmly, anyway, this is what I am doing. You decide whether to agree or not. But if you decide to force your way into Konoha, I will not accompany you. Hearing this, Pain squinted his eyes and stared at him coldly. Are you going to betray the organization? He said. Uchiha Menma sneered and said, if you think so, I can't help it. Anyway, I won't die. If you want to go, go on your own. Of course, maybe you can also ask other people to see if they are willing to go to Konoha to give away their heads. I forgot to remind you that now Konoha not only has Ryosuke Yagami, but also the 2 tails and 9 tails Jinchuriki, as well as 2 of the legendary Sunin. I heard that even the copy ninja Kakashi already has a cage level strength. In this case, what we have to face is at least 5 cage levels, and a shinobi god of death. Hearing this, Pain also fell silent. With such a configuration, even if he personally leads everyone from the Akatsuki organization to kill Konoha, he may not be able to win. What's more, as Uchiha Menma said, the Akatsuki organizations, it's hard to say whether the others are willing to go to Konoha. Although he is the leader of the Akatsuki organization, he can't order other members to follow him to die. I see. Pen said coldly, then turned around and left. Ah. Uchiha Menma smiled faintly and turned around to go back to his room. Yuyan village, on the high tower. Pieces of white paper flew around, forming the figure of Xiaonan appearing in the tower. Nagato, how is the deal with Ryosuke Yagami going? Konan walked into the tower, looked at Nagato who was sitting on a chair and looked like a haggard person, and asked. No agreement has been reached, so I plan to use other methods. Nagato said. He didn't plan to tell Konan about Yagami Ryosuke's request. Because Nagato knew that if Konan knew the other party's request, Konan would definitely want to sacrifice himself to fulfill their dreams for himself and the dead Yahiko. Of no agreement? Then we can only think of other ways. Zionin looked distressed. But Konoha is so strong, what can we do? Wait. Nagato said when that Yagami Ryusuke leaves Konoha, we can capture the other Jinchuriki first, and the two tails can be released first. It seems like this is the only way to go. Konan nodded and said. For the time being, their Akatsuki organization really can't do anything against Konoha. It is really that Konoha is too strong now. It is completely incomparable to when the Sandaime Hokage was in power. You know. Sarutobi when Hiruzen was in power, how many cage levels were there in Konoha? Not counting Ryusuke Yagami, who was still in bed at the time. It was only 1.5. The Hokage, Hiruzen Sarutobi, counted as one. The one known as the darkness of the ninja world Danzo Shimura can be counted as half. Then what? No more. But what about Konoha now? To read cool novels, go to Fila Novel Network, Tsunade, the fifth Hokage. One of the three ninjas come on, one. One for Yukito, the two-tailed Jinchuriki. One for Uzumaki Naruto, the nine-tailed Jinchuriki. One for Kakashi Hatake, the elite Jounin of Zenjin and now the powerful shadow-level copy ninja. This is already 5 already. Not to mention, a ninja Shinigami whose strength far exceeds the cage level. How can the Akatsuki organization fight against them? Just use their heads to fight? Let's wait for now. Once we capture the other Jinchuriki, then the remaining two tails and nine tails were captured last. Konan chatted with Nagato for a while, and then cared about Nagato's physical condition. Then he left the tower. On the other side, Zetsu also found Uchiha Obito. Told Obito the content of the conversation between Pain and Menma Uchiha. Do you want Zionin? Obito sneered and said this Yagami Ryusuke is really frank. He is willing to give away two-tailed beasts for a woman. Is such a person worthy of being called the Shinigami of the ninja world? Absolutely. Do you act like you're not here for a woman? In the entire ninja world, you are the least qualified to say this. Certainly. Ju did not say these words. After all, he still has to save some face for Obito. Obito, what are you going to do? Ju asked. Call me Ben. Obito said coldly, since Nagato is unwilling to tell Konan the truth, then let me tell her. I believe that with the relationship between Konan and Nagato, they will definitely be willing to sacrifice themselves. Hearing this, Zetsu nodded in agreement. Having been in the Akatsuki organization for so long, he certainly understands Konan's character. As long as she knows the request of Ryusuke Yagami, she will definitely agree to it. Okay, so be it, as long as you get the two tails and the nine tails, the other tailed beasts won't be a problem at all. Zetsu said. In the current ninja world, except for Konoha, which one is difficult to deal with, what other forces are there that the Akatsuki organization does not dare to fight? Even if they are as strong as Kyumigakuer, the Akatsuki organization does not take them seriously. To put it bluntly, if it weren't for the shinobi world Shinigami in Konoha, Nagato wouldn't have chosen to trade with Ryusuke Yagami. Now the deal has not been concluded. Nagato decided to let go of the two tails and nine tails first. But obviously Obito and Zetsu, that's not what I think. After all, the tailed beasts need to be sealed into the heretic golems in sequence. If there is no second tail, then the tailed beasts captured later will have to be imprisoned first. But in this case, accidents are easy to occur. This is not Obito wants to see the result. So, I can only wrong you, Zionin. Ju, go and tell Zionin the news. Obito ordered to Zetsu. Zetsu, didn't you say you were the one to reveal it yourself? Now you turn your back and let me go? Ha! Man. Akatsuki organization, inside the base. Konan was walking, but he was worried about Konoha's affairs. At this moment, a figure suddenly appeared on the wall in front of her. Ju, what's the matter? Xiaonan asked calmly. Konan, I heard that the leader rejected the deal with Ryosuke Yagamai. Is that so? ZY deliberately pretended to be casual and said. Refuse. Didn't we fail to reach an agreement? By the way, what exactly did Ryosuke Yagamai ask for? Zionin thought to herself. Pain said there was no agreement, and you knew that. She said. Zetsu nodded and pretended to be unintentional and said yes, I accidentally overheard the conversation between the leader and Mr. Menma. I didn't expect that Ryosuke Yagamai would make such a request. No wonder the leader refused. This kind of request? What kind of request is this kind of request? Zionin couldn't help but ask Zetsu, what request did Ryosuke Yagamai make? Ah! Zionin, you don't know. Ju pretended to be surprised and said he asked the leader to hand you over and exchange you for the second tail and the 9 tails, and then the leader refused directly. Xiaonan. She never expected that this would be such a request. But, why? Zionin doesn't understand. She had never even met Ryosuke Yagamai of Konoha. Why did the other party trade 2-tailed beasts for themselves? Those are the 2 tails and the 9 tails. Is he crazy? Zionin didn't understand. Then, she turned around and walked in the direction she came from. She was going to talk to Nagato. If it is this kind of request, Zionin thinks they can agree. She had heard from Nagato before that there was no agreement. I thought it was because Ryosuke Yagamai was unwilling to hand over the 2 tails and 9 tails. But if the other person is willing, even if the request is her own, Zionin also thinks she can agree. Konan is willing to sacrifice herself for Nagato and Yahiko's dreams. Soon, Zionin returned to the tower and found Nagato. Nagato, Ryosuke Yagamai's request is to trade me for 2-tailed beasts, right? Konan asked directly. Nagato. Which bastard told Konan? Nagato was angry. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Being in Konoha, I can upgrade my talent entries. Author, MRMO. Chapter 227. As soon as she saw Nagato's expression, Zionin knew that he was definitely not lying to him. That Yagamai Ryosuke, he really made such a request. Although I don't understand. But Konan is willing to sacrifice himself in exchange for the 2-tailed beasts of Konoha. Nagato, let's make a deal with him. Zionin said. No. Nagato sternly refused. Zionin, we have other ways. As long as we think about it again, there will definitely be other ways. Nagato said. Zionin would really think about it, and then use himself to exchange 2-tailed beasts with Ryosuke Yagamai. In this case, after Yahiko, he will lose even his last close friend. This is what Nagato never wants to see. Nagato, you said it yourself just now, we can't think of any other way. Konan shook his head and said since Ryosuke Yagamai is willing to trade 2-tailed beasts, I think we can trade with him. This is our only chance. No. I don't agree. Nagato said loudly. Nagato, don't you want to see your and Yahiko's dream? Konan looked at Nagato and said for the peace of the ninja world, each of us can sacrifice, you can, Yahiko can, and I can too. Nagato. He opened his mouth, not knowing what to say. Moreover, since Ryosuke Yagamai is willing to trade 2-tailed beasts for me, he definitely doesn't just want my life. I don't remember ever offending this ninja god of death. So, I'm not considered a sacrifice, right? Zionin said. But -050. Nagato wanted to say something else. But Zionin has made up her mind. She wanted to trade herself for those 2-tailed beasts in Konoha. Because only in this way can Nagato and Yahiko's dreams come true. Yes. In fact, peace in the ninja world has always been just the dream of Yahiko and Nagato. For Xionin, she actually didn't think much about it. She just wanted Nagato and Yahiko to be happy. I just want this country to become more peaceful and people will no longer be hungry. Children in the future should not have to experience what she did when she was a child. But do you want to look at the entire ninja world? In fact, Konan really never thought about it, but since Yahiko and Nagato want to achieve peace in the ninja world, then she is willing to accompany them and help them fulfill their dreams. Because during that dark time, only Nagato and Yahiko are her only lights in this world. They are also Xionin's only relatives in this world. Now, Yahiko is no longer here. So she must help Nagato and help him achieve his goal of peace in the ninja world. This is not only for Nagato, but also for the dead Yahiko. Nagato failed to convince Konan. On the other hand, he seemed to be convinced by Xionin. He means if Ryusuke Yagamai of Konoha just wants Konan to go to Konoha and has no intention of harming Konan. Nagato thought, is this the best place for Konan? After all, compared to following the Akatsuki organization. Every day he lived his life as an enemy of the world and countless ninjas in the ninja world. It's better to change a place and a different identity. Maybe that would be better? After all, when they gradually collect tailed beasts from other ninja villages, a conflict will definitely break out with the entire ninja world. Nagato was actually mentally prepared to sacrifice everything. Even if he keeps saying that he is a god all day long. But in fact, Nagato knew very well that his body could not support his wanton behavior at all. He cannot use his power wantonly. So their plan is not 100% successful. Once he fails, then Xionin will definitely not die well. Rather than let Xionin follow him on the adventure, it's better to let her go to Konoha. Go to the most powerful village in the ninja world. Maybe she will be safer there. Dong dong dong. In the room, Menma Uchiha, who was sitting in a chair with his eyes closed and resting, suddenly heard a knock at the door. "Come in," he said. The door opened, and Xiaonan with long light blue-purple hair walked in from the door. "Tell Ryusuke Yagamai that I agreed," Xionan said coldly. "Oh." Menma Uchiha turned to look at her and said, "Pen also agreed." "I convinced him," Konan said. "You just need to contact Ryusuke Yagamai in Konoha now. As long as he is really willing to hand over the 2 tails and 9 tails, then I will be his from now on." "Xionin, I didn't expect you to be really willing to sacrifice yourself for the organization." "Amazing." Uchiha Menma gave Konan a thumbs up. But Konan across from him was still looking at him expressionlessly. Seeing this, Uchiha Menma stopped talking and deliberately pretended to use psychic skills to contact Yagamai Ryo. It seemed that these were actually illusions, but his illusions were too strong. Konan couldn't see through them at all. Even Zetsu, who was hiding in the helmet under the ground, didn't see the slightest problem. Soon, Uchiha faced I received a reply right here. He agreed to trade at the border of the Land of Fire in 2 days, and he would bring 2-tailed beasts then. Uchiha Menma said. Xionin nodded, turned around and left. Tisk tisk. The sacrifice is really big. Uchiha Menma said with a smile. Zetsu, who was hiding underground and peeping, also sneaked out of here quickly at this time. He went to inform Obito of the news. 2 days passed quickly. Because of Naruto's return to the village, several of their friends from the same class had a rare meal together. Then everyone chatted about their current situation. Mainly asking about Naruto. After all, everyone else was in the village. Inside, I would occasionally meet someone to chat with. Only Naruto. He had been practicing with Jiraiya outside for more than a year. He had no chance to meet him. In the middle, Naruto also mentioned that he met Sasuke in the kingdom of Kawa. Sakura, who didn't pay much attention at first and had been immersed in eating, immediately came over after hearing the word Sasuke and asked Naruto how Sasuke was doing. Naruto actually doesn't like Sakura as much as he did in the past. At most, he felt nostalgic for seeing his first love. However, in response to Sakura's inquiry, Naruto still told Sakura and others about Sasuke's situation. Hearing that Sasuke was not only fine, but also doing well. Well, her strength has improved greatly compared to before, and Sakura is very happy. Of course. If she can meet again, Sakura will be even happier. Naruto, didn't you persuade Sasuke to come back? Sakura asked. Naruto shook his head and said, Sasuke said he still has something to do, and after he is done, he may come back. Actually, Naruto is not sure. After all, Sasuke's original words were I am now a rebel ninja in the village, and I will probably never go back again. But Naruto didn't want to tell Sakura this directly. He knew that Sakura how much I like Sasuke. To read exciting novels, go to Fila Novel Network. If she hears the news that Sasuke will not come back in the future, Sakura will definitely be extremely sad. Although Naruto has no love for Sakura anymore, it felt like the past. But he didn't want to see Sakura so sad. That afternoon, Ryusuke Yagami left the village. He went to the border of the Land of Fire and organized a deal with Akatsuki. Regarding the deal, who was he? He didn't say anything. After all, this is his own private matter. There is no need to mention it to other people. As for, after Konan settles in Konoha, will he be recognized by others? For example, Jiraiya. That will be what happens next. Anyway, Ryusuke Yagami didn't do anything that harmed the interests of the village. What could he do even if he knew about it? The 2 tails and 9 tails he sent out for trade were not the 2 tails and 9 tails in Naruto's body. Tails. They are just 2 brand new tailed beasts formed by part of the tailed beast chakra that he separated from the sealed space in his body. His own things can be used however he wants. In the Land of Fire, somewhere on the border place, Ryusuke Yagami was sitting on a stone, waiting for the person who was trading with him to come over. At this moment, on the horizon in the distance, there were 3 figures walking slowly. Soon, the 3 of them were getting closer. Ryusuke Yagami also jumped down from the big rock. The people coming were none other than Pain and Konan from the Akatsuki organization, and Menma Uchiha disguised as Ryusuke Yagami's wooden clone. What about the tailed beast? Pen asked with a very ugly look on his face. Although he had been almost convinced by Xiaonan before, he felt very uncomfortable when he thought of handing Xiaonan over in exchange for 2 tailed beasts. I always feel sorry for Xiaonan by doing this. At this, Ryusuke Yagami took out a bottle. The bottle is a sealing item. It is a 6-paths ninja tool, because it is disposable and cannot be used again after it is used. He sealed the 2 tailed beasts inside. It is also to facilitate transactions. Saying that, Yagami Ryusuke threw the bottle directly to Pain opposite. After Pain reached out to catch it, he used his samsara eye to sense it. He indeed sensed 2 huge chakras in it, and it was the chakra of the 2 tails and the 9 tails. Among them, the chakra belonging to the Kyuubi was so huge that Pain couldn't help but feel terrified. That's right. Pen nodded and put away the bottle. Then he looked at Yagami Ryusuke opposite. If you just hand over the tailed beast to me, aren't you afraid that I won't give you the person? He said. In fact, Pain did have such an idea in his heart. Then you give it a try. Ryusuke Yagami said with a smile, as if he didn't care that Pain would regret it. Just when Pain couldn't help but feel a little moved, Konan on the side shook his head at him. I'll go with you. Xiaonan took the initiative and came over. Xiaonan. Pen couldn't help but call her. Xiaonan turned around and smiled at Pen, silently said take care of yourself, and then walked to Yagami Ryusuke. Great, the deal is done. Ryusuke Yagami clapped his hands, then looked at Uchiha Menma and said, Uchiha Menma, if you have any business next time, just come to me. Aren't your Akatsuki organizations trying to capture tailed beasts? If I can pay you enough, I can help you. Unnecessary. Pen said coldly. He doesn't particularly want to see Yagami Ryusuke now. After all, this guy took Konan away from him. Although Pain had convinced himself before, he comforted himself by saying that Konan was in Konoha, it might be safer. But at this moment, he still felt as uncomfortable as if he had eaten a fly. Very uncomfortable. Okay, see you later. Ryusuke Yagami said with a smile, and then grabbed Konan on the side, and their figures disappeared instantly. Let's go, we've got the things, now it's time to find Sanwei. Uchiha Menma said to Pain. Pain didn't say a word. Instead, he turned around and left. Seeing this, Uchiha Menma also 4.1 smiled, and then followed. Konoha. Yagami House. Led by Yagami Ryusuke. Zionin appears here. You will live here from now on. He said to Zionin. Then he pointed at the Akatsuki uniform she was wearing. You won't need this outfit anymore, go change it. Konan nodded expressionlessly. Since she agreed to make a deal with Ryusuke Yagami, she will not go back on it. She stopped Pain before because she was worried that Ryusuke Yagami would fight with Pain. In that case, she couldn't guarantee whether Pain would win by then. Master, welcome home. At this time, the maid Yukito also came over and bowed down to say hello respectfully. At the same time, her eyes were curiously looking at the woman standing next to Yagami Ryusuke. Why is there another one? Yukito was very worried. It was because of the taste. At this time, Yagami Ryusuke also told Yukito her name is Zionin, and she will be your colleague from now on. You take her down to change into work clothes, and then teach her what to do. Be a good maid. Xiaonan. Maid. You traded me here because you wanted me to be your maid. Zionin looked at him with a shocked and angry look. On the opposite side, Yukito was indeed staring at the woman named Zionin in front of him with a jealous look on his face. This guy, he actually wanted to take away her position as the master's only personal maid. Hateful. Being in Konoha, I can upgrade my talent entries. Author, MRMO. Chapter 228. Why are you still standing there? Take her down. Yagami Ryusuke looked at Yukito, who was staring at Konan, and said. Okay, master. Yamuren nodded with an aggrieved look. Then he said coldly to Zionin, follow me. After saying that, she turned around and left. When Zionin saw it, even though she was very angry, she still followed after thinking about it. A few minutes later, Yagami Ryusuke was sitting in the living room drinking tea. At this time, Bokuto also came over with Konan, who had changed her clothes. Konan, who had changed into a maid outfit, also looked like she had a different temperament. Ryusuke Yagami looked up and down, and nodded with satisfaction after a moment. Yes, this suit suits you quite well, he said. Zionin gritted her teeth for a while, wishing to tear this hateful man alive. Although she had guessed what Ryusuke Yagami wanted to do by trading her here before she came, she never expected that Ryusuke Yagami would actually do it. Let her be a maid. Damn it! What is wrong with this man? Use two-tailed beasts in exchange for a maid? Are you afraid that there is something serious? Of course Ryusuke Yagami is not sick. Even without Konan, he would deliberately find an opportunity to send the 2 tails and 9 tails to the Akatsuki organization. Therefore, Zionin is just an addition, an extra surprise. However, Zionin will not understand these things. So she completely wants to. I don't know why Ryusuke Yagami did this. From now on, study hard with Yamuren. If you do well, I will give you a salary increase. Yagami Ryusuke said. I really care about your salary. I am in charge of finance in the Akatsuki organization. Zionin gritted her teeth angrily, and finally said okay without going. This made her it's very uncomfortable. You can even think of your own gloomy life in the future. What makes Konan even more speechless is that she is already in such a miserable state. But the woman next to her, because she is the former second-tail Jinchuriki of Kyomagakure village, she is still, he looked at her with a look of jealousy on himself. When he took her to change clothes, he even warned her not to take away the position of the master's only personal maid. No. Is there something wrong with your mind, a woman like you? A maid? I am so crazy that I would steal my identity from you. Are you afraid that you have been brainwashed by Ryusuke Yagami? Zionin feels that people in this place are a little abnormal. Ryusuke Yagami is not normal. These two Yuki is not normal either. Are there no normal people here? Just when Zionin was feeling tormented in her heart, the door of the villa also opened. Then Tamari and Xianglin walked in from the door together. Ryusuke! Xiangren shouted as he threw himself on Yagami Ryusuke, smiled and kissed him on the face. Do you want to eat something delicious? She took out a bag of snacks from her pocket as if she were offering a treasure, and waved it in front of Yagami Ryusuke. Tamari also came over. She first looked at this unknown woman curiously, and then looked at Yagami Ryusuke. Tamari sat down next to her. Ryusuke Yagami hugged her and held her in his arms. Tamari was still a little embarrassed. Mainly because there was an unknown stranger present. However, Xiangren was more generous than her. Too much, I don't care about Zionin, a stranger at all. Ryusuke, who is she? Tamari asked curiously. Zionin, the new maid. Yakami Ryusuke said. Zionin. Ah. It seems like I killed this damn man. What to do? I can't bear it anymore. Zionin was going crazy. So much so that the expression on her face was a little distorted. Why does she feel so angry? Tamari asked curiously. She always felt that this maid named Konan had a bad background. Could it be that Yagami Ryusuke snatched it from outside? Tamari was very suspicious. After all, as far as she knew about Yagami Ryusuke, this guy really might do this. And this is not the first time. Angry. Ryusuke Yagami smiled and shook his head. No, she is just too happy. Tamari. You think I am blind? She rolled her eyes speechlessly. Xianglin on the side didn't care at all whether she was a maid or not. She opened the snack in her hand, took a bite herself, and then took another piece and handed it to Yagami Ryusuke. Is it delicious? Xianglin asked with a smile. Yes, not bad. Ryusuke Yagami nodded. The taste is indeed good. Although she was very reluctant, Xiaonan was forced to stay and become Ryusuke Yagami's maid. Fortunately, Ryusuke Yagami did not do anything excessive to her. For example, warming the bed or something. If that were the case, Zionin didn't know what she would do. Would she grit her teeth and endure it? Or fight back? Or simply commit suicide to protect her innocence? But, what if Ryusuke Yagami turns around and joins the Akatsuki organization? Zionin was also very confused. Fortunately, such a thing did not happen. Although I need to bring tea and water every day, and give Yagami Ryusuke a massage and so on. But at least there is no more fear than in the past. After getting used to it for a while, Xiaonan felt inexplicably that such a life seemed pretty good. When this idea popped into her head, Zionin thought she might be crazy. How could she think so? On the other side, just when Zionin was adapting to the life of a maid, the Akatsuki organization is also actively hunting other tailed beasts. Because the three tails was in a wild state, it was quickly captured by Kisei Miniki and Suzuki. Why join forces with Suzuki? Of course it was because Uchiha Itachi died. Suzuki took up the position that originally belonged to Uchiha Itachi and successfully became a full-time employee. If it had been before, Suzuki might have considered returning to Wood after killing Itachi Uchiha. Even if he is a traitor, he must at least give it a try. But now, after knowing the truth about the genocide, Suzuki already hates the village of Konoha in his heart. Although the culprit was the original high-level officials of Konoha, Suzuki just didn't like this village in his heart. If it weren't for Konoha, their Uchiha clan would not have perished. So until he figures it out, he won't go back to Konoha. Even if Konoha wasn't too strong. To read cool novels, go to Fila Novel Network. He wanted to kill him directly. But now, it's better to hang out with the Akatsuki organization first. After all, the goal of the Akatsuki organization is to collect the nine-tailed beasts, and then use the power of the nine-tailed beasts to suppress all ninjas in the ninja world, so as to achieve peace. This will inevitably lead to hostility to Konoha. Therefore, Suzuki felt that staying in the Akatsuki organization would be a good choice. Plus his teacher is here too. So he agreed to take over Uchiha Itachi's position and became the new Suzaku of the Akatsuki organization. After Mikagaki Kisame and Suzuki captured the Three Tails, others in the Xiao organization also took the initiative. For a time, the Akatsuki organization appeared everywhere in the ninja world, and several major ninja villages were taken care of by the Akatsuki organization. Especially Kyomagakure. Pain personally took action, using Pain's 6 paths to descend on Kyomagakure, and personally captured the 8 Tails Jinhuriki Rabbi. Kiribi was not so lucky this time. He failed to escape the clutches of Pain's 6 paths and was captured. At this time, the 7-tailed beasts in front have been sealed in the heretic demon statue one after another, only the last 8 tails and 9 tails are left, and they have not been sealed yet. After Pain captured the 8 tails, everyone in the Akatsuki organization also immediately began to seal it. On the other side, the major ninja villages that were successively invaded by the Akatsuki organization had already mobilized a large number of ninjas to kill the headquarters of the Akatsuki organization, the Yuyan village in the Land of Rain. I have to thank Suzuki here. Because Suzuki mentioned to Naruto that the base of the Akatsuki organization is in the Hidden Rain village. So after the major ninja villages were invaded by the Akatsuki organization one after another, and the tailed beast Jinchuriki was captured, Konoha also received a joint invitation from Iwagakure, Kyomagakure, and Kirigakure. As the 5th Hokage, Tsunade had some written communication with the Kages of several other villages. Then she told the Kage in other villages about the location of the Akatsuki organization's base that she got from Naruto. It is precisely because of this that several Kage from Ninja Village know where the Akatsuki organization's base is. In Yuyan village, a fine drizzle has been falling. In the forest, figures of ninjas were running quickly, sneaking into Yuyan village silently. At this time, Nagato, who was located on the central tower of Yuyan village, also discovered the existence of these intruders through perception. Are you coming? Nagato opened his eyes, the purple samsara eyes flashing with a cold gaze. He knew that the Akatsuki organization's plan to capture the tailed beast would not go smoothly. But now all the tailed beasts have been obtained. The rest is just the work of sealing. Seeing that the sealing of the 8 tails is almost completed, as long as the sealing of the 9 tails is completed, the heretic demon can be driven to use the power of the 9-tailed beasts to make the ninja world feel pain. Let others stop it first. It's time for them to play their final role. Nagato said to himself lightly. So far, all the members of the Akatsuki organization are actually useless. So Nagato doesn't care about the life and death of these members. If they are alive, they are still members of the Akatsuki organization. And if dead, then die. Dead people have no value anyway. For a group of rebellious ninjas who have done many evil things, Nagato feels that death may be their best destination. Inside the cave, Pain, who was doing the sealing work, opened his eyes. Then he turned to look at the members of the Akatsuki organization on the side. Someone has broken in. Stop them and don't let them get the impression that the seal is in progress. 287. Upon hearing this, several members of the Akatsuki organization nodded silently. Then several of them cut off contact with the outside demons. Although this would slow down the speed of the seal, at least it would free up manpower to stop those outside. Intruder. Haha. My uncle's sickle can't wait for a long time. Haydn laughed loudly and looked at Kakuzu beside him. Kakuzu, why do you look so depressed? He asked. Kakuzu glanced at him, and then looked back at the cave behind him. There was a vague feeling in his heart. He turned to look at Uchiha Suzuki not far away. Suzuki-kun, where is your teacher? Kakuzu asked. Hearing this, Suzuki shook his head. The teacher said 2 days ago that he had to leave for a while because of something, but he hasn't come back yet. When Kakuzu heard this, the ominous premonition in his heart suddenly became stronger. Menma Uchiha, who is second only to the leader in strength in the organization, would not leave at any time, but he chose this time to leave when something happened. If there is no reason for this, it would kill Kakuzu. Don't believe it? Something bad is going on. Kakuzu murmured to himself. Ah! Kakuzu, what did you say? Haydn didn't hear what Kakuzu said clearly. Kakuzu shook his head and didn't tell his guess. Outside the Omegakure village, Naruto raised his head and looked at the gloomy sky. I don't know if Suzuki is here. He thought to himself. This time, the 5 major ninja villages jointly launched an operation to exterminate the Akatsuki organization. Everything was carried out secretly, and the efficiency was unprecedentedly high. There was no way. There were now 7 of the 9 known tailed beasts captured by the Akatsuki organization. They didn't know that Ryosuke Yagami also gave the 2 tails and 9 tails to the Akatsuki organization. The only ones left were Konoha's 2 tails and 9 tails. Although they didn't know that the Akatsuki organization, what exactly do you want to do? But letting a rebel ninja organization master the power of the 7-tailed beasts is obviously an unprecedented threat. Therefore, the 5 ninja villages also showed unprecedented cohesion, and they actually achieved it in just a few days. Regarding cooperation matters, the shadows of the 4 villages, together with the elders of Tsunagakure, did not even meet. They finalized the decision to attack the Omegakure village together. Now, Naruto and these Konoha ninjas around him, it is the team that represents Konoha. The leader is none other than Naruto's teacher, the Toad Sage Jiraiya of MT Miyaboku. Being in Konoha, I can upgrade my talent entries. Author, MRMO. Chapter 229. This time Konoha dispatched 300 elite ninja troops, with Jiraiya as the commander-in-chief and Kakashi assisting. At the same time, there are also big killers like Metkai in the team. It can be said that the strength of this team far exceeds the team sent by the other 4 ninja villages. However, in the other 4 ninja villages, except for Tsunagakure because the 5th generation Kazekage had not yet been elected, the shadows from their respective villages directly went into battle in person. Even Kirigakure, who was far away overseas, was angered by the Akatsuki organization this time. After all, when Suzuki and Inokeki Kisame went to capture the 3 tails, they happened to encounter a team sent by Kirigakure village to capture the 3 tails. As a result, the Kirigakure side suffered heavy casualties. This time, Terumi Mei, the 5th Mizukage, was completely angered. The same goes for several other villages. They were all offended by the Akatsuki organization. The shadows in the village have vowed to kill the Akatsuki organization, and no one can stop them. As for why Konoha participated, this is purely because Tsunade doesn't want to see the Akatsuki organization continue to grow. That's why we cooperated to participate in this operation. After all, Konoha didn't lose anything with the Akatsuki organization. Certainly. If you have to count, Menma Uchiha did cause some damage to Konoha back then, and now Menma Uchiha and Suzuki Uchiha are both members of the Akatsuki organization. After all, Konoha can be considered to have a grudge against the Akatsuki organization. Strange, I always feel that these raindrops are not ordinary raindrops. Kakashi stood on the roof of a house in the hidden rain village, raising his head and looking at the falling raindrops in the sky. The rain was very small, just a drizzle, but when it fell on him, it gave Kakashi a strange feeling. The feeling. It's not that he discovered anything, it's just a feeling. It's more like a sixth sense or something, more metaphysical. Your feeling is correct, this is not ordinary rain, but a certain kind of perception technique. Jireya's figure fell next to Kakashi at this time. There were many figures behind the two of them, and these people were all ninjas from Konoha. As for the ninjas from the other 4 villages, they were naturally in other locations. Although the 5 major ninja villages have joined forces to deal with the Akatsuki organization this time, it does not mean that they will act together. In fact, everyone has only verbally obtained a cooperative relationship. If they really want to cooperate with each other, it is obviously not very easy. Realistic. A very intuitive question, ninjas from many different villages may have been hostile to each other in the past. Maybe during the Third Ninja War, or maybe in a certain mission, there were some conflicts. Even fight to the death. Now you want them to work together all of a sudden? This is obviously impossible. Therefore, the so-called 5-village cooperation is just about everyone working together to organize. But cooperation or anything else is out of the question. Basically just fight each other. So we have been discovered by the Akatsuki organization. Kakashi said. Jiraiya nodded, that should be true, but just discover it if you find it. This time, the other 4 villages sent at least 500 or 600 people, which totaled more than 2,000 ninjas. Moreover, shadows like Iwagakuer, Kumigakuer, and Kirigakuer are here. Even if they are discovered, they can only passively defend. I don't know why, but I always have a bad feeling in my heart. Kakashi touched his Sharingan. His bad premonition actually came from his eye. It's okay. Although we have the smallest number of people sent out in Konoha this time, they are all elites. What's more, we have support, right? Jiraiya laughed and said. Hearing this, Kakashi also looked at the ninja bag on his waist. There was a special kunao in it. It was assigned to them by Tsunade before they set off. Several of them. They are all kunao imprinted with the Flying Thunder God's mark. If you are in danger, just enter the chakra and Ryusuke in Konoha will know. Then rush over as soon as possible. There is Ryusuke in Konoha. To be honest, they have nothing to worry about at all. Brush. On the roof, Naruto's figure also fell next to Jiraiya and Kakashi. Lustful immortal, if I see Sasuke later, can you let me go and talk to him? Naruto looked at Jiraiya and said. Sasuke. Jiraiya thought for a moment, then nodded. Yes, as long as he doesn't help those in the Akatsuki organization, we in Konoha won't take action against him, but I can't guarantee that for the people in the other 4 villages. Jiraiya said. After all, this time the 5 of their villages cooperated, but it was just cooperation. Jiraiya did not have the authority to command the troops of the other 4 villages. How could he order other people? It's okay, as long as the ninjas in the village don't attack Sasuke. Naruto said with a smile. He is still very confident in Sasuke's strength. As long as Jiraiya and Kakashi don't take action against Sasuke, then the ninjas in other villages should not be able to stop Sasuke. Of course. Naruto does not, I don't know, but now Sasuke's strength has improved a lot compared to the last time he met. After all, Sasuke, who has obtained the eternal Mangekyo, has further reached the Super Shadow level. Although Sasuke, the Super Shadow, should be the weakest Super Shadow. After all, it didn't take long for him to awaken the kaleidoscope, and it only took a while to evolve to the Eternal Eye. The development of these eyes can be said to be quite limited. Susanoo couldn't even use his complete form. At most, it can only open the fourth form. With such strength, Sasuke barely reached the Super Shadow level. But if you give him some more time, it won't take long. About 10 days and a half month will be enough. By then, he should be able to unleash the full form of Susanoo. At that time, Sasuke's strength was at the Super Shadow level, so he would not be at the bottom. However, even if it is a Super Shadow at the bottom, it is still a Super Shadow. Just Kakashi alone, or Jiraiya alone. I really can't beat it? Certainly. If the two team up, Sasuke may be in some danger. If we add another Medi, and then Medi opens another 7 doors. Then Sasuke will have no choice but to run away. Yuyan Village. On the rainy street. Some villagers passed by in a hurry, holding umbrellas or wearing raincoats. At this time, one after another, fast-running ninja figures appeared. The ninjas who appeared directly launched an almost massacre-like attack on the residents of Yuyan Village on the road. How can ordinary residents of Yuyan Village have the ability to resist? To read exciting novels, go to Philo Novel Network. In an instant, everyone died on the spot. At this time, the ninjas of Yuyan Village realized that the village had been invaded. Then the big bell in the center of the village was rung. The clanging bells echoed in the village, like death's reminder, echoing in everyone's hearts. Kill. Standing in front of a group of Kyumigakuer, the fourth generation Raikage, his face was as dark as ink, and his face was full of cruel killing intent. His good brother, Kiribi, was captured by the Dam Akatsuki organization. It is very likely that his life is at stake. Therefore, Ai has no sympathy for the villagers of Yuyan Village. He directly ordered his subordinates to massacre the entire Yuyan Village. The same thing also happened in Yuyan Village. On the other side of Iwagakuer, Tsunagakuer, and Kirigakuer, all 4 of their villages issued the same order, kill without mercy. And no one would spare any chickens or dogs. Konoha, on the other hand, did not attack these ordinary villagers. But they also didn't stop them. They just continued to move forward, and then continued to kill the ninjas of the Imegakuer village. Compared to the elite ninjas of Konoha, the strength of these ordinary Imegakuer ninjas was really too low. They were no match at all. Almost as soon as they met, the people from Imegakuer village who came to stop the Konoha ninjas were completely routed. More than half of the hundreds of Imegakuer ninjas were killed by Konoha ninjas in a short period of time. The rest were so frightened that they fled one after another, not daring to fight against these elite ninjas in Konoha again. The main force led by Jiraiya and Kakashi did not take action at this time, but continued to follow the team towards they broke into Yuyan Village. At this moment, 4 figures suddenly appeared on the street in front of them, blocking their way. Sorry, this way is blocked. A ferocious smile appeared on Kisame's ugly shark face. Next to him were the immortal duo Haiden and Kakuzu, and Kisame's new partner, Sasuke. At this time, 4 members of the Akatsuki organization stood in front of a group of Konoha ninjas, blocking their way. Sasuke. Naruto stood in front of the crowd, looking at Sasuke in front of him and shouting his name loudly. The 3 Megatama in Sasuke's eyes trembled slightly, but the next second he looked at Naruto, his eyes became cold. Ignoring Sasuke's shouts. Sasuke. Naruto couldn't help but be dumbfounded when he saw Sasuke, whom he hadn't seen for a while but whose attitude was completely different from last time. Naruto, Sasuke will be left to you later. Kakashi reached out and put his hand on Naruto's shoulder and said to him. Upon hearing this, Naruto nodded solemnly. Well, Kakashi-sensei, you and Erotic Sento and the others should also pay attention to safety. Naruto said. Haha. I'm just a few members of the Akatsuki organization, but I'm the Toad Sage of MT Mayaboku. Jiraiya laughed and said proudly. Naruto rolled his eyes at him angrily. Even at this time, he was still making a fuss. However, this is probably Jiraiya. Even in serious situations, he can show the funny side of himself. But this does not mean that he does not value these enemies in his heart. Brush. Naruto's figure rushed out in an instant. Sasuke's eyes flashed across from him, and then he spoke to Kisame next to him. I'll leave the rest to you, and then chased after Naruto in the direction he left. Cut. It's really irresponsible. Hayden pouted. Since the death of Itachi Uchiha, the relationship between Hayden and Sasuke has not been as good as before. Now Hayden can't help but want to say something to Sasuke. I don't know what the bad problem is. The ninjas of Konoha cannot let you hinder the leader's work. Kakagaki Kisame smiled ferociously, and the big sword Same had in his hand was inserted into the ground, and then he quickly formed seals with his hands. Water escape. Big burst of water. Boom. A massive amount of water rushed towards the people in Konoha in front of them. Earth escape. Earthquake core. Okay, Jiraiya formed the same seal and instantly used defensive earth escape to block the Konoha ninjas. At the same time, the figures of Kakashi and Metkai also disappeared in an instant. Off-fight. A green figure instantly appeared in front of Kisame Kisaki. Boom. Kisame used his same muscles to block the opponent's attack, and his body slid back on the water for a certain distance before stopping. He raised his head and looked at the watermelon-headed guy in front of him. You again. Kisaki Kisame obviously recognizes the other party. Eh? Have we met? Mate Kai was stunned and couldn't remember where he had seen this guy in front of him. Asshole. Are you kidding me on purpose? Kakagaki Kisame said angrily. At the same time, Kakashi also faced off against the immortal duo. He was 1 against 2. The White Fang sword technique burst out with terrifying power in his hands. At the same time, various ninjutsu were also used. Hayden was so forced that he couldn't get close, so naturally he couldn't get the blood from Kakashi's body to use the secret technique of Shinji Pinksuo. Let's go. Seeing Lord Jiraiya and others taking action, the rest of the Konoha ninjas also swarmed forward. This is not a time when there are more people bullying less people. What's more, in the ninja world, this has never happened. This kind of rule. I have more people, so why do I bully you when you have less people? If you have the ability, go and call more people. In the ninja world, whoever has the biggest fist is the truth. Therefore, the ninjas of Konoha, at all, I didn't mean to sit back and watch the show. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Being in Konoha, I can upgrade my talent entries. Author, MRMO. Chapter 230. Faced with the siege of many Konoha ninjas, the immortal duo also encountered unprecedented trouble. Hayden was dragged by Kakashi and couldn't get away at all. Kakashi used the White Fang sword technique to cut off a layer of flesh from his body. He was grinning and screaming in pain. Kakuzu was also besieged by a large group of Konoha Jounin, including several ninjas with elite Jounin strength. Faced with the siege of so many ninjas, even though Kakuzu's strength was considered top-notch among the cage level, he was still beaten in an extremely embarrassed manner. He even lost a heart in a short while. Damn it! Kakuzu was so angry at this moment that he was cursing his mother. It's obvious, this is what Pain asked them to do to die. This guy just wants to kill the donkey. Kakuzu has seen through all this, and he can't resist. It's difficult. Could it be that if he surrenders now, the Konoha ninja in front of him will let him go? Obviously impossible. So, Kakuzu can only fight. But God knows what the Hokage of Konoha thinks. Their Akatsuki organization did not go to Konoha. Why are you Konoha joining in the fun of collecting tailed beasts? Isn't it good to be alone? Kakuzu doesn't understand. But he has no intention to think about these problems at the moment. Because his second heart has been killed by a Konoha. Yes, elite Jounin was blown away. Faced with the siege of such a large number of Jounin, no matter how strong Kakuzu is, he can't stop him. If he can drive Gundam, then all this will naturally not be a problem. The same shadow level peak. Shadow level peaks who can drive Gundam, and shadow level peaks who can't drive Gundam, are in two completely different states when facing a large number of enemies. The former can kill indiscriminately. The latter can kill indiscriminately, but he can only fight with his hands tied. Very uncomfortable. Just like Kakuzu is like now. It's so uncomfortable. Just when the undead duo, Asake Kikisame and Suzuki stopped this group of Konoha ninjas. On the other side, other members of the Akatsuki organization also blocked the ninja troops from the other four villages. Deidara and Sia are in charge of Iwagakure village. On the Union village side, there are 3 statues of pain and 6 paths. As for the weakest Kirigakure and Tsunagakure, the former was blocked by 2 pain 6 paths, while the latter was simply handed over to Fei, the intern, and the other Omegakure ninja troops. Although Omegakure's strength is rubbish, he can use most of 810 strength to deal with Tsunagakure, plus Fei's assistance. Still no problem. After all, Tsunagakure's strength is also weak. As a result, the entire Yuyan village was filled with shouts of killing. There was fighting everywhere. People are dying every second. At the same time, deep inside the Akatsuki organization's base, in a huge rock cave, Pain Ceiling of the 8-tailed ox demon is almost at its last minute. On the other side, after Naruto lured Suzuki away, he also stopped at the edge of a forest. Brush. Suzuki's figure fell behind him. Naruto turned around and looked at Suzuki. Suzuki, what's going on? Naruto asked excitedly, looking at Suzuki. Naruto, Suzuki looked at his good brother with a responsible look, and then he said with concentration, Naruto, we are enemies now, there is nothing to say. Suzuki, what nonsense are you talking about? Naruto didn't understand. Weren't we still fine the last time we met? That was before. Suzuki said loudly, it's different now. No, the same. What's different? Suzuki, you should say so. Naruto said anxiously. After hearing this, Suzuki hesitated for a while, but decided to tell Naruto the truth about the annihilation of the Uchiha clan, letting him know that he and Konoha are now sworn enemies. To be honest, Suzuki doesn't want to be with Naruto. People are enemies. They used to be best friends. Naruto is also the only friend Suzuki recognizes in the village. Therefore, if there is a choice, Suzuki still wants to maintain a good friend relationship with Naruto. But he knows that Naruto has feelings for the village. Feelings. Until how much Naruto wants to become Hokage. Therefore, Suzuki knows very well that if he wants to take revenge on the village, Naruto will definitely stop him. In that case, the relationship between the two will be irreconcilable and they will inevitably become enemies. For a moment, after Suzuki finished telling the truth about the annihilation of the Uchiha clan, he looked at Naruto in front of him with burning eyes. Naruto, if I want to take revenge on the village, will you stop me? Suzuki asked. Naruto didn't know how to answer this question for a moment. Want to stop it? Naruto actually already had the answer in his heart. But he couldn't say it. When Suzuki saw Naruto's hesitant expression, he already understood what he meant. You can't abandon the village, and I can't give up revenge either. So, Naruto, we will be enemies from now on. Brush. Sasuke pulled out his ninja sword and pointed the tip of the sword at Naruto opposite. Naruto. Enemy. Sasuke and I will be enemies from now on? Then should I kill Sasuke? No. There is no way I can kill Sasuke. Naruto shook his head vigorously. Then he looked at Sasuke and said firmly, Sasuke, I don't want to be your enemy. So you want to give up the village? Sasuke said with twinkling eyes. Naruto shook his head. He couldn't give up the village, after all, it was his home. His little friends, his teachers, wrapped up all the memories of his past, whether they were beautiful or painful, are all in Konoha. So there is no way he would abandon the village. No, I won't give up the village either. Naruto said. Naruto, my teacher once said, you can't have your cake and eat it too. You have to make a choice. Sasuke said coldly. Fish. Bear's paw. Why can't you have it both ways? Naruto doesn't understand. However, it's okay if he doesn't understand, as long as he understands the meaning. Sasuke, the one who wants to harm your Uchiha clan is the former high-ranking Konoha clan member. Although Naruto didn't want to say this, he always felt a little sorry for the deceased Grandpa Hokage, but in order to save Sasuke, Naruto still said this. Konoha is different now. The Hokage is Grand Matsunade, and Ryusuke is now also a high-ranking member of the village. Grand Matsunade even said that she would make him the 6th Hokage. Your enemies are all dead, so there is no need for you to hate the village. Naruto tried to persuade Sasuke. However, although Naruto's mouth release is powerful, it is always detrimental to everyone. But only on Sasuke, sometimes the effect is not so obvious. Although the masterminds are all dead, the accomplices are still alive. Unless you Konoha are willing to hand those people over to me and let me deal with them, there is no need to talk. Sasuke said coldly. He was completely unmoved by Naruto's persuasion. This made Naruto anxious and scratching his head. For a while, he couldn't think of any other better reasons to keep Sasuke. And Sasuke saw Naruto like this. He also said, okay, Naruto, don't waste any more words, I have made up my mind and it is impossible to change it. Hearing Sasuke's resolute attitude, Naruto also knew that he could not use words to persuade Sasuke to give up his hatred of Konoha. There was no way, since words would not work. To read Bao's Huang novels, go to Filu Novel Network. Then he can only use other methods. Sasuke, no matter what, I hope you can change your mind. Naruto said with a determined look on his face, if you insist on taking revenge on the village, then you must first defeat me, Uzumaki Naruto, because there is no way I would let you harm the village. Sasuke. This idiot. Sasuke cursed in his mind and looked at Naruto in front of him with an indifferent expression. Naruto, you don't think I can't beat you, do you? He said. My strength is even stronger than the last time we met. Even so, I won't admit defeat. Naruto shouted. Naruto. Sasuke. Naruto. Sasuke. The two shouted loudly, and disappeared in the next second. A shock wave suddenly erupted in mid-air and swept away. Akatsuki organization, deep in the base. Pain sealed the last bit of the eight-tailed bull ghost's chakra into among the heretic demons. He finally finished it and breathed a sigh of relief. Next, the only thing left is Kuwabai. Pen murmured to himself. However, now is obviously not a good time to seal the nine tails. I don't know who leaked the location of their Akatsuki organization base. It is now surrounded by ninjas from the 5 major countries. Although Pain has sent members of the Akatsuki organization went to stop them. But they obviously couldn't stop so many people. In fact, casualties had begun to appear on the Akatsuki organization's side at this time. Menma Uchiha, Madara Uchiha. Pen muttered these two names. At this moment, deep in the tower of Yuyan village, Nagato, who was sitting on a chair with a haggard figure, suddenly opened his eyes at this time. Who? He raised his head suddenly. But at this moment, a hand suddenly appeared from the void and dug out his samsara eyes from behind. Ah! Nagato, whose eyes were gouged out, screamed. Blood was flowing all over his face. At this time, Obito's figure also appeared here with the distortion of space. He put the samsara eyes in his hands into a glass bottle. Put away immediately. It's you. Although Nagato can't see, he can feel the familiar chakra fluctuations of the person in front of him. Uchiha Madara, is this your purpose? Nagato said coldly. Yes, that's my purpose. Uchiha Obito said calmly. Nagato, your use value is gone. Leave the next work to me personally. Hearing this, Nagato also laughed a few times. He had been wary of Uchiha Madara, but he didn't expect that he would be attacked so easily. This made Nagato feel very ironic. He always said that he was at a loss. It's God, but it can bear fruit. Where's Kuwabai? I know you have the Kuwabai, hand it over. Obito said coldly. But Nagato in front of him laughed. You want Kuwabai? The only thing left to seal the tailed beast is the last tailed beast. Do you want to pick peaches? Nagato said with a smile, Uchiha Madara, I will not hand over the Kuwabai to you. Do you think I am not guarding you? Hearing this, Obito's face under the mask also frowned. He took action after Nagato successfully sealed the 8 tails. On the one hand, he didn't want Nagato to truly control the 10 tails. On the other hand, it was also because he didn't have enough time. After all, the ninja coalition forces outside were almost here. But he didn't expect that after taking Nagato's reincarnation eyes, he couldn't find the 9 tails. He didn't know that Nagato had hidden the 9 tails. Where? Nagato, don't you want to achieve peace in the ninja world? Obito plans to persuade Nagato to hand over the 9 tails. He knows that Nagato has always wanted to achieve peace in the ninja world, and for this, Nagato is even willing to sacrifice his own life. Therefore, as long as this is the premise, it should be possible to convince him to hand over the Kuwabai. Peace in the ninja world? Nagato smiled miserably and said, do you think I will still believe what you say? There is no way someone like you can bring peace to the ninja world. Obito. No, what's wrong with people like me? Why is it impossible to bring peace to the ninja world? Nagato, your words are a bit discriminatory. Don't think about it, there's no way I can tell you where I've hidden the Kuwabai. Nagato vomited blood as he spoke. The breath of life gradually dissipated from his body. He was about to die. What are you doing? Obito quickly discovered something was wrong. Although Nagato's body was very weak, it was because of the samsara eye. It was just like Kakashi before, even more than 100 times worse than Kakashi. But now he even dug out his samsara eye. Nagato shouldn't be like this. Shut. Obito rushed up instantly, wanting to check Nagato's situation. But who knew that Nagato actually took out a kunai? He stabbed himself in the neck. In an instant, blood spurted out from the wound like a fountain. Obito didn't even have time to stop it. Nagato's attack was too cruel. It was too decisive. Being in Konoha, I can upgrade my talent entries. Author, MRMO. Chapter 231. U. Obito looked at Nagato, who committed suicide, in disbelief. He doesn't understand. Why did Nagato commit suicide? There were 2 lines of blood on his face, and Nagato had a kunai stuck in his neck. At this time, he was also laughing, and the laughter became smaller and smaller, getting smaller and smaller. Until his hands dropped. His consciousness was completely plunged into darkness. Yahiko, Konan, I failed to live up to your expectations, I'm sorry. The moment Nagato was about to die, he only felt guilty. He failed Yahiko's trust in him. I failed to live up to Xiaonan's help all along. Fortunately, Konan left the Akatsuki organization early and went to Konoha. At this moment, Nagato was happy. He was happy that he did not stop Konan firmly. If that happened, I'm afraid Zionin will also encounter something unexpected today. Zionin, live well. Instead of Yahiko and me, let's continue watching this ninja world. Obito looked at Nagato, who was completely dead, and fell silent for a moment. At this time, his eyes widened suddenly. Inside Nagato's corpse in front of him, a seal suddenly broke, followed by an evil and majestic chakra burst out, and then quickly dissipated. This is Kyuubi. Obito's eyes widened. He never expected that Nagato would hide the nine tails in his body. To be precise, he sealed the nine tails in his body. What on earth was he thinking? Obito couldn't understand. Even if you want to guard against him, there is no need to do this, right? Does Nagato really no longer want to live? Otherwise, why would he seal the Kyuubi in his body? You know, when the time comes to seal the Kyuubi at that time, if Kyuubi was in Nagato's body, then Nagato, as a Jinchuriki, would be at risk. Could it be that, what ability did Nagato possess that could lift the seal? Can Kyuubi be separated from himself without any harm? Pity. Nagato is dead, and it is impossible to answer the doubts and confusions in Obito's heart. And Obito also knew that he had been tricked by Nagato. Kyuubi was always on him. It's just that the breath of Kyuubi's chakra was hidden by his sealing technique, so even Obito didn't notice it. Nagato, you are cruel. Obito glared fiercely at Nagato's body in front of him. Then he turned around and looked outside the tower. However, you probably don't know that there is another Kyuubi in this world. Obito squinted his eyes, his vision seemed to penetrate the barriers of space, and he saw two figures fighting at the edge of the forest in the distance. Ryosuke Yagami, what exactly is the Kyuubi you gave to Nagato? Obito murmured to himself. At first, Obito thought that the nine tails that Yagami Ryosuke gave to Nagato were the nine tails sealed in the body of the nine-tailed Jinchuriki. But later he discovered that the nine-tailed Jinchuriki was still there. Alive. Even the nine tails in the body are still there. This makes Obito a little confused. But everything was normal when the two tails were sealed before, which means that there is no problem with the tailed beast provided by Ryosuke Yagami. So here comes the problem. How can there be two identical tailed beasts in this world? Obito couldn't figure out the key for a while. But it's not important. If he can't figure it out, he won't think about it. As long as he knows that the Eye of the Moon plan can still be implemented, that's fine. However, now that the nine tails in Nagato's hand has dissipated with his death, then the only hope left is the nine tails in Uzumaki Naruto's body. Thinking of this, so does Obito a headache. Uzumaki Naruto, Konoha Ninja, Yagami Ryosuke. Otherwise, take advantage of now. Obito thought with some excitement. This time, there was no figure of Ryosuke Yagami among the troops sent by Konoha to Megakure village. This made Obito a little excited. He thought about whether he should take this opportunity to capture Uzumaki directly. Naruto. But soon, Obito gave up this idea. There was no way. Naruto didn't come alone. There were shadow-level masters like Jiraiya and Kakashi around him. And, that Uchiha Sasuke's attitude is very unpredictable. If he takes action to capture Naruto, Uchiha Sasuke is likely to stop him. Obito knows that Sasuke has awakened the eternal Mangekyo Sharingan. So, facing this difficult plan. Obito also found it very troublesome. Damn Nagato. Thinking of this, Obito glared at Nagato's dead body fiercely. Following a burst of space distortion, Obito's figure also disappeared from the tower. In a Megakure village, the battle lasted for more than an hour before gradually coming to an end. State. Basically all the ninjas in the Hidden Rain village were killed. The remaining members of the Akatsuki organization were also no match for the 5-village coalition. They were no match at all. They ran away and died. The undead duo were the worst. Haiden was beheaded by Kakashi and hung up. The key point is that this guy was still yelling curses after his head was beheaded. Some ninjas in Konoha thought he was noisy, so they took off their own socks and stuffed them in Haiden's mouth. The world was quiet now. But Haiden felt uncomfortable. Damn it, why are these socks so salty? Haiden cursed in his heart. He looked at a corpse on the ground not far away. That was Kakuzu. 5 of his hearts were blown out. He couldn't die anymore. As a ninja who survived from the first generation era, Kakuzu never thought that he would die so miserably. He was beaten to death unexpectedly. On the other side, Inakigaki Same was also killed by a single blow of Hirutora after Metkai exploded the power of the 7 gates. The only thing that made Inagangaki Same gratified was probably that before he died, Metkai finally called out the right one. His name once. Finally, it's no longer Uchiha Same. It's not easy. Scorpion and Deidara also encountered trouble in Iwagakure. Originally, Scorpion relied on his large number of puppets. It can still block the troops of Iwagakure. However, because Nagato's Rinnegan was taken away by Obito, all the 6 paths of pain were destroyed. All of a sudden, Kumigakure and Kirigakure, who were originally blocked by Pain's 6 paths, were freed. The time has come. The grumpy 4th generation Raikage roared and punched Scorpion's puppet. In the end, even Scorpion himself was beaten into pieces by AI. When Deidara saw Uncle Scorpion, he was beaten to death. He cursed and dropped some clay bombs while flying in the sky, and then left a flying clay body to explode and then flew away directly. With his flying advantage, except for Onoki, who could stop him a little, no one else could stop him at all. I couldn't stop him. So I could only watch Deidara escape. Over at Sand Hidden Village, they were probably the most unlucky among the 5 great ninja villages. Afei, who was separated from Obito, went straight to the other 4 villages because of his playfulness. Only when the ninja troops came over did they think of escaping. The key is, I really let this guy run away? There's no way. Baiju's escape skills are really top-notch. Afei saw that the situation was not good and ran away. Even the ninjas from the 5 major countries couldn't stop him. As for the unlucky Tsunagakure, there were more than 400 ninjas when he arrived. And now, there are less than 200 left. More than half were dead. Let's look at the other 4 villages. Kirigakure's losses were relatively large, but only about 20 people died. In comparison, the difference is clear at a glance. The shadows from several villages also despised the rookie strength of Tsunagakure village in their hearts. To read Bao's Huang novels, go to Filu Novel Network. On one side, a large force rushed directly towards the base of the Akatsuki organization. But when they arrived, they found that the place was already deserted. Except for one body on the ground. There is nothing else. Blanche. What's going on? An elite jounin from Tsunagakure village cursed. His face was very ugly. Did they win? On the surface, it seemed like they had won. And it was a big victory. After all, except for 2 people from the Akatsuki organization who ran away, and that one Menma Uchiha, who never appeared from beginning to end. The others all died in their hands. Suzuki, am I not a human? However, their real purpose this time is to regain the tailed beast snatched away by the Akatsuki organization. But now, what about the tailed beast? They searched the entire Akatsuki organization's base. No trace of the tailed beast was found. Was that Menma Uchiha taken away? Some people speculated. After all, there have been rumors about how powerful Uchiha Menma is. Zero asking for flowers. But this time they didn't even see anyone. Is it possible that Uchiha Menma left with the tailed beast in advance, and these remaining members of the Akatsuki organization, abandoned? But what's going on with this guy on the ground? This person, he should be the legendary leader of the Akatsuki organization, right? Everyone present was a little confused. By the way, isn't there another Uchiha Sasuke? What about others? Someone asked loudly. Then everyone looked towards Konoha. Uchiha Sasuke's words should be with Naruto now, right outside. Jiraiya said. At this time, it is impossible for him to conceal Sasuke's whereabouts in order to help Naruto. After all, it is related to the whereabouts of the captured tailed beasts. Sasuke may be the only person who knows the truth. After all, he is the Uchiha Namuma's disciple. As for the one named Haiden, forget it. They asked before, and this guy had no other words to say except for swearing. Obviously, this is a fool who doesn't know anything. What are you waiting for? Go find him quickly. Reikage shouted in a hurry. Then the people from Cloud Hidden Village hurriedly ran out. When other villages saw it, they also immediately followed. At the edge of the forest, the huge purple Susanna Masa and the nine-tailed Chakra on the opposite side entered. Moduzumaki Naruto confronts. Naruto, get out of the way, you are no match for me. Sasuke was perched between Susan's eyebrows, looking down at Naruto, who was filled with golden chakra energy. Sasuke, I won't give up. Naruto shouted. You idiot. Sasuke frowned and cursed. Just when he was about to continue to take action to make Naruto aware of the strength gap between the two, suddenly there was a loud roar behind him. Followed by a thunder and lightning wrapped around the fist hit the purple Susan's body hard. Click. A crack appeared on the surface of the purple Susan. Sasuke looked down, he found that the ninjas from other villages had arrived here. Did it fail? Sasuke thought to himself, and at the same time, the power in his eyes burst out, and he instantly repaired the part that was cracked by Reikage. Get out of here. The huge purple Susan waved his hand suddenly, and the Reikage who rushed up again was instantly blasted hundreds of meters away. Boom! A cloud of smoke and dust rose up in the forest. Lord Reikage. The ninjas from Hidden Cloud Village rushed forward anxiously to check on Reikage. Brush! 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 At this moment, more ninjas appeared around. They surrounded Sasuke. Even if they had awakened the eternal Mangekyo Sharinan's, Sasuke, who has super cage level strength, can't help but feel a little stressed at this time. After all, there are so many people on the opposite side, and the key is that there are strong people like Jiraiya and the cage of each village. Even if Sasuke is against his own, no matter how confident you are in your strength. I feel a little scared now. Uchiha Sasuke, where is your teacher Uchiha Menma? Where are they? The Sandaime Tsuchika Jonaki was flying in mid-air, looking level with Sasuke in Susanai and asked. Teacher. Hearing this, Sasuke shook his head. I don't know where the teacher is. He really doesn't know this. Because the teacher just told him before that he wanted to go out, but he didn't say where he wanted to go or how long he would go. What about those tailed beasts captured by your Akatsuki organization? Where have you hidden them? Onoki continued to ask. Hearing this, Sasuke frowned. Are you questioning me? He looked at the short old man in front of him with unkind eyes. Uchiha Sasuke, don't be blind to the current situation. Cooperate with us and tell us where the tailed beasts are hidden by your Akatsuki organization. The Reikage, who was wrapped with thunder and lightning, landed nearby. He looked at the purple Susanna in front of him fiercely, and once again felt the lack of his own strength. The last time he felt like this, it was Ryusuke Yagami of Konoha. The time when he came to their Union village to show off his power. That time, he was directly beaten to the point of being seriously injured and unconscious. and he was defeated in just one face-to-face encounter. What a miserable loss.